Aita for deliberately misunderstanding my child's father. So I had a baby some weeks ago with my partner to whom I'm not married. We've been together a while, and I've given many compromises in this relationship. While discussing baby's name, we had a few disagreements on names but ultimately decided on a name we both liked well enough. The surname was a sticking point. He wanted the baby to have his name alone. I offered to hyphenate because logistically it's easier for the baby to have both of our names. He's been drinking the red pill Kool-Aid lately, a large bone of contention in this relationship, and went off about how it's tradition and the right thing to and his right as a man to have the baby have his surname. He told me I'd be emasculating him and may as well be a single parent if I won't grant him this one little ask. My word is final, baby's having one surname. This was late in my pregnancy and I didn't have it in to fight, so I told him that I understood what he was saying. FF to 3 weeks ago when baby's birth certificate came. He blew a gasket when he saw that I'd given the baby my surname. He rehashed the conversation above, saying I agreed to giving baby his surname. This is where I might be TA. I did nothing of the sort. I told him I understood him, which I did, but I never said I agreed with him. I told him there was no way I was doing all the work of making a baby for him to stick his name on it. When we brought up tradition, I told him it's also traditional for him to marry me before having a baby, but he was happy to ignore that. I told him it was traditional for him to be the provider, but I do that too, and I pointed out other holes in his logic. I told him trying to bully me into submission with his red pill BS when I was exhausted from pregnancy didn't work. He should have known better than to expect me to not share a surname with my child. He said the baby should only have one surname, they do. So why is he mad? He went crying to his brothers and mother, all traditionalists and misogynists, and now they're all up in arms. There seems to be some confusion, we are not married or engaged. I don't believe in it, and he's never seen the point of, bring the state into your relationship, so we agreed to never marry. He's on the birth certificate as the father, baby just has my last name but father is listed. Thanks for your feedback. I'll be asking him to come for a talk so I can plainly address the issues you guys have helped me see. Thank you for that. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, NTA you told the truth and nothing more. If I read your post correctly, you agreed the baby would have one surname. You didn't agree to which one, so, why are you still with this guy? He doesn't respect you. He doesn't provide for you and the baby. Please don't say because you need him or love him. Editor's note, this was a longer comment but I included the parts OOP responded to. Reply, I am reconsidering the relationship. The truth is he wasn't always like this. He fell on hard times and unfortunately chose to cope with that in an unhealthy way. At his core, I believe he is of good, but I need to have a frank conversation about the ideologies he's leaning into and the harm it's causing in our relationship. To another commenter asking why she is with him. I hate that I sound like every enabler, and perhaps I need to do some introspection to see if that's what I've become, but he wasn't always like this. Life's been hard for him lately and his coping strategies have led us here. I need to have a frank chat with him about how it's affecting us. Commenter 2, was he not there when you were filling out the forms? Cause that's pretty telling. 2 eyes. NTA what to name the baby is definitely a valid conversation to have, but he wasn't having a conversation with you. He was trying to bulldoze you without compromise. Reply, I registered the baby on my own. He was there for the birth and everything but his paternity leave was pretty short so the admin of registering fell on me. Commenter 3, NTA and please do not relent and change the baby's name. I just had a baby in August and shit's tiring. Congrats on your new addition and my condolences, you have to spend 18 years dealing with this family though. Reply, I am beyond in love with my tiny human. I hope you're doing well too with yours. Should this spell the end, I'm lucky to have my village and the means to minimize the suckiness of breaks-ups. There's no world in which any child I birth will not share a surname with me. My compromise of a double-barreled surname stands, no other offer is on the table. Commenter 4, info why are you still in contact with all those people that do nothing for you? Seem you would lose a lot of stress, anxiety and financial hardships just cutting this person loose. Reply, which people? Sorry. Baby's dad and his family. He stormed out on Thursday night. Friday morning his mother sent me a voice note berating me. I've since received messages from his family criticizing me for my decision, but no word from my partner. I have not responded to any of them, so it's one-way comms ATM. OOP's life. I'm very fortunate to be in a position where I don't need anything from him. I'm financially secure, I have a good job and a good support system. I don't need his financial backing to raise this child. I've texted him asking him to come home so we can talk. I'm thinking of having a mediator neutral party there to avoid things getting out of hand. Update post. So it turns out he's got deep-seated resentment for me, lol. He resents me for earning more money than him, being further in my career than he is, not losing my job during COVID like he did, having parents who love and support me, not being a submissive woman, lol, having a present and loving father, not combining our finances, under his control, thus making him feel small. On the brighter side, I'm 12 weeks postpartum and already 75 kilograms lighter. Editor's note, this has caused some confusion. OOP is making a joke about losing the boyfriend. So when I last came here, I said I'd asked him to come home and discuss our future with baby, preferably in the presence of a neutral party. He left me on read for a few days, though I could see he was spying on us through the Ring doorbell and baby's monitor. I disconnected them both and he finally responded. He came home, still irate. His stance still hadn't changed, he seemed to have been bolstered by the days he spent with him family. He rejected my request for us to do this in the presence of a couples therapist, the best neutral compromise I could offer. I asked him how he proposed we move forward, then, and he went on a rant where the above came out. It was a full mask-off moment. If there was any part of me that wanted you guys to be wrong about him, it died that day. He again rejected the offer to hyphenate baby's surname. Apparently I'm disrespectful and insolent, funny enough his mother's fave words to scold people she disagrees with, for refusing to do what's right and give baby their rightful surname. I told him I won't go through the administrative nightmare of having a different surname to my child, and lots of data shows a double-barreled surname is social currency that has positive connotations. Nope, he wouldn't budge. I told him neither would I, baby either has both our surnames or mine alone. He asked if this was a hill I wanted this relationship to die on, if I was prepared to throw half a decade down the drain over my silly little feminism. I told him I wasn't sure there was anything left to fight for. We broke up thankfully. Our, in his name, lease expires end of May. I called my dad and he came to help me back up baby. X went back to his mum's while we packed. I messaged him to suggest we still need couples counseling, we need to learn to be co-parents and they can help us establish a healthy way of doing that. He again said no to that, so my mum wanted to take me and baby on a baby moon holiday after this stressful period, but he would grant permission for me to take baby abroad. It was at that moment I wished I didn't have him on the birth certificate like some of y'all accuse me of. It's going to be a long road ahead. I've instructed a lawyer to help us set up a formal agreement to avoid this in the future. He's not responding to correspondence from the lawyer, so that's fun. He's sulking, used to do this a lot when things didn't go his way. I hope he'll soon realize I no longer have time for his BS and I won't be toyed with because I called his bluff and ended the relationship. To end on a bright note, he house I wanted us to buy a couple of years ago, which he talked me out of until he was back on his feet again despite us being able to afford it on my salary alone, is back on the market. I took it as fate, it's time to move on from this man. It's a beautiful Victorian terrace near good schools, good transport links, a small garden and close to my parents. It'd be the perfect home for baby and I put in an offer last night. Wish me luck. It's in a chain, so if my offer's accepted it won't be ours for months, but my parents have allowed baby and I to move into their granny annex for free, my village. Relevant comments. Commenter, he sounds like a horrible person, and he'll probably pass down his horrible ideologies of women and relationship to your child, but hey, I don't know you or him, no offense and that relationship, but is co-parenting even worth it? Reply, I mean he's not asked to see the baby since we broke up, so TBH I don't think I'll have to do much co-parenting with him. Commenter, unless there's an actual custody order in place, you don't need permission to take that baby anywhere. Reply, I wish that were true. In my country, you need permission from both parents to take a child out of the country. Commenter, I would go on your baby moon holiday with your mom. Reply, definitely planning on it. I have 18 months of leave and I'd planned on doing a few trips. He's presented a bump, but I'm sure we'll overcome it and take baby to new places. New update. Hi, this is really more of a method to help me process per my therapist's guidance rather than anything else. He's dead. He died a week after my last update. His funeral was last month and it's been hell. He heard from a mutual friend that I'd put an offer in on the house and came to my parents where baby and I were staying in a drunken rage. It was late, after 10, and he was causing a ruckus and disturbing the neighbors. He wouldn't leave and kept hurling nasty things at me, how I was keeping his baby from him despite him making zero effort to see them after we separated, how I robbed him of his legacy, how I couldn't wait to be rid of him and how much he hated me. We went from begging to pleading, to cursing me out and trying to kick down my parents' door to crying. I opened a window and told him to leave or we'd call the police. He refused, so we called them. He ran away. I'm still not sure on the details because his family won't tell me, but I gather he was trying to cross a busy road with the awareness of a drunk, angry man and got hit by a car. He died on before the ambulance arrived. I found out when his mother called screaming down the phone, crying about how I'd killed him. She blames me. Even at his funeral she made sure to tell people how I was to blame for her baby boy's untimely death. I know it's not my fault. Rationally and logically I did not tell him to make the series of bad decisions that led to his death, but I still feel guilty. His mother tried to claim his life insurance that I paid for. She said he told her he'd change it for her to be the beneficiary. I don't know how far true it is, but I refused and told her the purpose was to help set baby up for life if one or both of us met an untimely death, so that's what it will do. She's threatened to sue me, but I don't know where that will lead. I am exhausted, I'm tired and I'm grieving, and I'm being told I have no right to mourn him. We got the house, but it won't be ready until late September. His mother tried to claim a share of that, too, even though her son made no contributions to it. They've made no efforts to see baby and refused to let me visit the funeral parlor with them to say goodbye to their dad. I'm drained. I was supposed to go back to work soon, but thankfully my employer is understanding. We've booked a trip out of the country while we wait for the house's completion. I've become the target of a harassment campaign from ex's family who are calling me all sorts. I don't know why I'm sharing this here. Perhaps because I've deleted all my own social media accounts, it's nice to be able to post somewhere where no one knows me. Where no one will accost me in the streets or at work or at home to call me a murderer. Editor's note: seen this come up a few times. OOP says she has 18 months of maternity leave, but then in the last update said she was going back to work soon. Obviously that seems weird, but a few options. As someone else pointed out, she could have taken maternity leave for several months before giving birth. The timeline is a bit unclear as it is. I'm not sure at what point the birth certificate came in the mail after the baby was born and how much leave she had before it came. Some people end up cutting their leave short for a multitude of reasons. I've had friends do that. Sometimes when your world is falling apart, even before he died, you need a sense of normalcy and structure. Maybe she needed that and wanted to go back to something of a routine. As someone else pointed out, she may be able to use the leave at different times, not as one 18-month stretch. Stories number 2. Aita for getting suspicious of my BF's perfect gift. Long story. I love Gundam. It's an anime manga game series for people who don't know, and I collect models of the various mechs of the series. When I was at work one day I was talking to a guy on a Reddit post who was selling his GFFMC Wing Gundam Snow White Prelude model kit. I've been looking for one for a while, which go for around $500 to $600. I offered him a trade, but he ultimately declined, and I can't reasonably afford to buy it for myself with my current income. Fast forward just 2 days later, when I got home from work I see that exact model kit sitting on me and my BF's bed. I was ecstatic, literally giddy with joy. I hugged and kissed my BF thanking him, but a few minutes later I realized I never told him anything about this model, nor have I told pretty much anyone outside of Reddit. So when I asked him how he knew I wanted it so bad, he just shrugged and said it's because he loves me. For some reason that answer didn't sit right with me. After trying to pry an answer from him I started accusing him of spying on me or maybe going through my phone when I wasn't looking. We so rarely argue, but this became pretty heated and escalated more than I anticipated. I got angry and I brought up our age difference, calling him a creepy old man who spies on me. I really regret doing that. I know he feels self-conscious about it because my parents once ridiculed him for it, and it's always been a worry for him people will judge us. For reference, I'm 22F and he's 32M. He got pretty hurt by my words and he stopped arguing. He left for a little while before coming back and apologizing, saying he let the argument get out of hand, but I knew I hurt him, so I apologized for using something he's insecure about. He slept on the couch that night even though I asked him to come to bed and I told him I'd drop the issue. It's been 3 days and he's still acting kind of distant. But to be honest, it still bothers me how he knew I wanted that model kit when I never told him about it. I just wish he'd tell me how he knew. I don't want to seem ungrateful for his gift, but it's too late now. Short story. I got into a pretty bad argument with my BF of 4 years because he got me a gift that was very oddly specific and too perfect. It made me suspicious, and when I asked him how he knew I wanted the thing he gave me, and he just shrugged and said he loves me. I didn't like that answer, so it escalated. Aita for wanting to know how he knew about something I never talked to him about. Comments. Commenter 1. Yup, you are totally the AH. If he was following your accounts, it seems it was not creeping, but trying to see what you really wanted to surprise you. And he did. More likely scenario is that you actually mentioned something about this in conversation and he picked up on it. I have done this numerous times with my wife, just overhearing a conversation or her making a comment about something that she doesn't think I am listening to, and then surprise her with that item. Reply: I understand that, as far I know he doesn't use Reddit very much. And if he did follow my account or overheard me somehow, why can't he just tell me that? Commenter 2. Because you came at him. Commenter 3. YTA, because I bet you did talk about it, unless you are saying that you never share anything about yourself with your BF. Reply: I do share my hobbies with him. I just don't tell him about everything I want because I know he'll just end up buying it for me. He makes a lot more than me, but I don't want to be that spoiled GF who gets everything I ask for. Commenter 4. So he figured what a good thing was in the hobby you enjoy by listening to you and doing research, and you see that as a bad thing. Let me guess, you put no effort into gifts, so can't understand people that do. Update. I wanted to make this post even though the first one didn't get much attention. I feel like I owe it to my BF and the people who commented on the last one. I would like to show some humility before I abandon this burner account. I was definitely the asshole when it came to that situation. I took some time to think about it all, and the comments on the original post helped me reflect on my actions. I was being an insecure, immature, and controlling brat. I took what was supposed to be a loving and tender moment and I trampled all over it because of my irrational insecurities. Not only that, I hurt my BF in a terrible way, exploiting his insecurities and making him feel like a creep, when I should have been accepting his loving offer that he worked so hard for. I know I have a control issue, where I feel as if people want to control and dictate everything I do, and for the first time I really let it out on someone I love. He didn't deserve that. He's always been very supportive of me, always been my side and never trying to control me. I broke down when I got home from work yesterday. I apologized to him and told him it didn't matter how he found out about the Gundam model I wanted. I told him I was being irrational, stupid and insecure. I begged him to forgive my stupidity and I promised to work my insecurities so this doesn't happen again. He gave me a giant hug and held me for a few minutes, saying he was sorry for being distant and not telling me how he knew about that specific model. I told him I really don't care how he knew and I really don't want to know. I told him to return the gift because I didn't deserve it. But being the good man he is, he smiled and refused. He brought it back out and we put the model together as a couple. I'm lucky to have him. He's the best thing to happen to me, and this experience taught me a good lesson not to take him for granted. We're on good terms again, maybe even better than before. I know not many will care about this, but I didn't want to leave it open and cold. I want to thank the commenters on the original post. You were part of the reason I realized my stupidity. I will work on myself so I can be the best partner for my BF. I want to make him as happy as he makes me. Thanks for reading, smiley face. Comments. Commenter 1. Hey, I am glad things worked out truly. I just wanted to say read the how he knew what you wanted. He saw your comments on Reddit if it was in the open domain. You have models of Gundam at home, lots of them, get excited every time you get a delivery of one, therefore shopped around and found the most expensive one and therefore thought you would love it and it would be unlikely that you would have it and therefore kinda got lucky with that purchase. Number 2 seems more likely to me. Anyway, I wish you the best for the future. Commenter 2. I think you should have allowed him to tell you how he knew you wanted that model. Commenter 3. Yes, I am very much curious just how he knew. Commenter 4. Same, she should have found out if only to update Reddit. Commenter 5. I pretended to list Gundam models on Marketplace to see if my GF is interested in that model specifically. OOP commented in this post. Hello, I didn't expect to see my post carried over to this server, lol. It seems most people are jumping to assumptions thinking my BF is a controlling creep, and honesty that hurts me a bit. He really doesn't deserve that. He did explain to me how he knew eventually. I had the model saved to our Amazon wishlist for over a month and I completely forgot about it. I have like 70 models in that wish list and he simply decided to buy the most expensive one, lol. The timing was a coincidence. He said he didn't want to tell me because he was planning on surprising me again with other models in the wish list. My BF is literally the sweetest and kindest person I know. Please don't label him as a creep. Stories number 3. Aita 4 ruining my cousin's life by existing, being pregnant, and allegedly stealing her baby name. So, I, 18F, have always had weird drama with my cousin Casey, 23F. For some reason she's always had this bizarre obsession with being in competition with me, while loving my older sister, 24F, like she's God's favorite. No idea why. I gave up trying to figure it out years ago. For context, she lived with us from middle school up to now because of family issues, and even then she treated me like a punching bag. Called me a worthless POS, ugly, and tried to make me feel like nothing. And unfortunately, it worked for a while. I hid under baggy clothes, avoided people, and had zero confidence. Fast forward to junior high, I started finding myself. Made some friends, got a lil style, learned makeup from my sister, and got into my 90s baggy clothes but cute era. Casey hated every second of it. Claimed I was copying her. She wore baggy hoodies and sweats with Crocs every day. It got worse when I got a boyfriend. He was 16, I was 15, and she deadass tried to steal him by telling him her body was better than mine and he would love seeing her up under her clothes. My mom had to intervene multiple times while my dad kept telling me to let it go. She's been through a lot. Spoiler alert, she's been through a lot her entire life according to everyone. I graduated high school early at 16 with honors and college credits. She hated it and called me a dumb prick who wouldn't get far. She didn't even come to my graduation. Meanwhile, she dropped out of college twice. Projection? I think yes. What made it worse was I found out I was pregnant in November, and Casey immediately started telling family I didn't know who the father was, that it could be multiple men, and even told my dad the father was over 31. Mind you, I've been with my boyfriend for 2 years at this point. When no one believed her messy ass, she tried to take the attention off of me and got pregnant herself. She admitted to this, but sadly she miscarried in February. We were all there for her. I even wore baggy clothes so she wouldn't feel triggered seeing my bump. Still, every time I had a craving or talked about my pregnancy, she made it about her. Would literally cry at the dinner table because it should have been her. Dramatic, right? Then when I announced my baby's name, she went and got a custom blanket made with the same name, her due date, and the day she miscarried, claiming I stole it. When the name was my mom's mother name who she has no relation to, she's my dad's niece. I kept the name also. Today's episode, we're planning my baby shower, talking about decorations and food, when she loudly scoffs from the living room, no one cares. We ignore her. We said the baby's name again, here she go, a name you stole from me. I rolled my eyes cause why re you still on this? I'm showing my mom a pic of a custom car seat cover I ordered. She storms in with her own baby stuff she bought before the miscarriage, mumbling, hopefully I don't steal her ideas. Like. I have most of her things already, I don't want your ideas. Once again I ignored her and my mom told her she loved them. Once she sees me not caring she then went full on explode mode. Accuses me of copying her, being jealous, needing to heal before I bring a baby into this world, and randomly brings up the hormonal hygiene struggles I've been having lately. That she overheard me talking about like WTF. We left to the backyard where my sister was and this woman followed us out screaming. Saying we treat her worse than her own parents did. Big lie, my parents have babied her for years while she treated me like dirt. My dad eventually came upstairs from the basement because she was so loud, asked what was going on, and for once, instead of coddling her, he went off. He straight up said, Casey, for God's sake I love you but what is your problem? You pick fights constantly, you play victim, and you're not in middle school anymore. If you want to stay here, you need to get your act together. I can't keep doing this with you or you picking with a teenager who has done nothing to you. She was shell-shocked. Stormed to her room, packed a bag, and left. Later, she texted me this. You've won. I can't fight you anymore. You've always ruined my life even when I was with my parents. You were always the favorite and I always hated you. You ruined everything for me, and now I feel kinda bad. I didn't respond and no one's heard from her since. Update. Hey you guys, I'm honestly overwhelmed by all the responses. I didn't expect this to blow up like it did, but thank you so much for the kindness, advice, and support. I wanted to answer some of the questions I've been seeing a lot in the comments. One, was she the youngest girl before me? Yes, she was the last girl born for 5 years before I came along. Our family is mostly boys with only a few girls here and there, so I do think that may have played a part in how she felt about me. 2, about me being a teen mom. I turn 19 in a couple weeks. I've been independent since I was able to work at 15, and I even have my own small business that's slowly growing. I still live with my parents for now, but I handle my own life for the most part. 3, why didn't my parents get her into therapy? My mom has tried several times to convince my dad to get us all into therapy, but he's one of those people who doesn't believe in it. He's always told us to pray or write it down instead, which honestly did help me at times growing up, but she definitely needed professional help and still does. I've asked him recently to consider it, and he just rolled his eyes and ignored me. For my parents' ages, my mom is 46 and my dad is 57. They've been married since 1998, so about 26 years now. 5, what happened with her parents? Her dad was physically abusive to both her and her mom. Her mom helped her run away and sent her to live with us, while she stayed behind. We live on the East Coast, and they were all the way in Oakland, California. As for contact, no, we haven't spoken to them since they lost custody of her. 6, why was I so nice to her? Because I genuinely looked up to her. My older sister was never really around much, and I thought she and I could be close like sisters. I really wanted that. 7, was there favoritism? Not really, no. I feel like we were treated fairly for the most part. If anything, she got a little more attention and was doted on more, probably because of what she'd been through. I only got extra toys when I was little because I was 4 years old and too small to do the stuff they did. 8, where is she now? No one has heard from her since she left. She's blocked all of us, and as far as we know, she doesn't have a job or anywhere stable to go, which honestly makes me nervous because it's likely she'll try to come back eventually. So we're keeping our eyes open and being cautious. Comments. Commenter 1. Don't feel bad lol, she constantly was an asshole to you and when she didn't get her way she threw a pissy fit and ran off. She'll either be back or crash somewhere else, regardless it's not the last you'll hear of her. Reply. Part of me wants her to stay gone, but my parents are out here low-key worried so that's what really makes me feel guilty. Commenter 2. Make sure she is on the NO list if you put the baby in daycare and even the church nursery. She seems very sadly unhinged and needs therapy. Reply. Oh trust she's going on the list. I'm not taking any chances with my little one around that chaos. You're absolutely right, better safe than sorry when it comes to mental health. Commenter 3. Don't ever leave her alone with your baby, and don't let anyone else leave her alone with your baby. Be sure your child gets all its checkups, doctor visits, etc. She seems like she'd call protective services on made-up charges, too. Be careful. She may appear better in the future, but I'd be wary of her for a very long time. Commenter 4. When she was screaming at you she was screaming about everything she hates about herself. She's jealous and has unresolved issues. She's unwell but that's not a free pass to be abusive. Distance yourself as much as possible from her, let her stay away. I'm sorry the adults in your life didn't protect you like they should have from her terrible behavior. NTA. Reply. It means a lot hearing that, and yeah. I wish the adults had stepped in sooner too, but I'm grateful my dad finally saw it for what it is. I'm definitely focusing on keeping my distance and protecting my peace. Commenter 5. Why was your dad condoning your 20-year-old cousin flirting with a 16-year-old? Reply. At the time, I think my dad was just so focused on keeping the peace and not setting her off that he overlooked stuff he never should have ignored, and I ended up being the one stuck dealing with it. Now that I'm older and looking back, it honestly pisses me off like, protecting someone's feelings shouldn't come at the expense of someone else's safety or comfort, especially your own kids, and flirting with a literal teenager while she was 20 was gross and predatory. No excuse. Update. For anyone new, quick recap, my cousin Casey bullied me most of my life, constantly compared us, and when I got pregnant she accused me of stealing the baby name she had planned, which was actually my grandma's name. Things blew up, she stormed out, and no one heard from her until now. On to the update. Casey ended up coming back about 2 days later drunk and higher than ever. It was around 1 a.m. I was asleep, but apparently my parents were still up watching a movie when she came in. My dad, who's a recovering alcoholic and has been sober since I was 14, was furious and disappointed. They tried to sit her down to talk, but she just cried and said she was tired and wanted to lay down. So they let her go upstairs. A little while later, my parents stepped outside to the back patio for a smoke break. Yes, both of them smoke occasionally. And of course, while they were outside and out of earshot, Casey came to my room. I woke up to her trying to open my door. Thankfully it was locked. She started shouting for me to open it, calling me a POS and saying we needed to talk. When I told her to go away and that we could talk in the morning, she started banging on my door, kicking it, and was saying that I would never be prettier than her and that I was the ugly black sheep in the family. This again? Get help. I told her to go to bed again, but she wasn't done. She threatened me, saying if she saw me tonight it wouldn't be good for me. At that point, I started recording and sent a video to my dad. He came rushing back inside and went off. He told her she wasn't staying another night in his house and she needed to start packing ASAP, that coming home drunk and bullying me again was unacceptable, and she needed to figure out where she was going in the morning. She broke down crying again, claiming we were all she had and she just wanted to talk. My dad didn't budge this time. He told her the only person she needed to talk to was a therapist, and until she got professional help, she wasn't welcome here. She was shocked, because like I've said before, my dad's always been old school and kind of coddled her. But not this time. My mom came inside mid-conversation, sat her down, and apparently had a heart-to-heart about how unacceptable it was for her to live in our home while treating me like garbage. I was watching the whole thing go down on the security cameras from my phone because yes, I'm that petty. But then my sister Monica starts texting me, taking Casey's side. It goes something like this. Monica, Amaya, for once will you stop making it so hard with her? She only wanted to talk. Me, it's 1 o'clock in the morning. I'm barely able to get out of bed, what do you expect me to do? I don't want to talk. Monica, I'm tired of you playing the victim like you're so innocent in this. Get over yourself. You're exhausting and it's getting harder to deal with. Me, what have I done, Monica? I've cooked for y'all, cleaned up after y'all, always tried to be nice, and neither of you do anything for me. If anything, you're exhausting. You're 24, you've got a degree, you won't even use it. Be real. Stop texting me goodnight. I cried. I always looked up to both of them, even after everything. But this was my breaking point. So here's where we're at now. Casey left the next morning to go stay with a friend. She's been texting and calling my parents, begging them to reconsider. But they're standing firm. If she wants to be part of this family, she needs therapy first, no exceptions. As for Monica, we haven't spoken since those texts. My mom noticed and asked what was going on, but I told her to ask her daughter because I had nothing to say. I've officially uninvited both Monica and Casey from my baby shower. Neither of them will be involved with my baby, and my mom said it's my decision. So no Aunt Monica. No Cousin Casey. My dad's standing firm too. No more excuses, no more drama. And me? I'm focusing on my pregnancy, my business, and reclaiming my peace. This is supposed to be a happy time for me, and I'm done letting them take that away. I deserve to be excited about this baby without guilt. Thank you to everyone who's been so kind, offered advice, and reminded me I don't have to tolerate this treatment. It means more than you know. If anything else happens, I'll keep y'all updated. Comments. Commenter 1. When I had my daughter I was hit with the absolute fact that this was a person. I had made a person. And OMG, that made me a person, too. And I knew I could no longer allow people to treat me like I wasn't a person. Because my daughter would grow up thinking that I'm not a person, and by extension, she wasn't a person either. I stand up for myself, talk back, refuse denial of facts, and do what I know is right for us. And she sees that. You'll see it, too, and your baby will thrive on it. Reply, thank you for sharing this, it really moved me. I love how you connected your own sense of worth and agency to the example you're setting for your daughter. It's such a powerful reminder that how we treat ourselves shapes how our children see themselves. I'm taking this to heart, and I hope to be that kind of strength and example for my little one, too. Commenter 2. She cannot ever come back in the house again or live with you or ever see the baby. I fear for you and your baby's lives. I really do. What was she going to do to you if she got into your room? If one more incident happens, you must go to the police and get an intervention order. Please. Commenter 3. Yeah, she sounds psychotic. She has so much hate, anger. I fear she might try to harm OP and her baby. Reply, thank you. I honestly appreciate your concern. It's scary to even think about what could have happened if she'd gotten into my room. She's completely crossed a line, and she won't be coming back into our lives or near my baby. If anything else happens, I won't hesitate to involve the police and get a protective order. My baby's safety comes first, always. Stories number 4. Aita for getting mad about my gym letting my ex-husband's wife gain my account information. My ex and I have been divorced for about 8 years. It was a high-conflict divorce custody case that caused me a lot of trauma. We are both remarried. I attend a fitness studio occasionally and created an account, my account, for my 14-year-old daughter to start taking classes. She had only taken about 2 over winter break. I received a text yesterday confirming an upcoming reservation in a class. I didn't make this reservation and noticed my account was logged out, so I immediately called the fitness studio. Apparently my ex-husband's new wife, the 14-year-old stepmom, was in the same gym and asked the front desk to change all the contact information on my daughter's account, also mine, address, email address, phone number, etc., but not my payment information. So she could log into said account and have access to my payment billing info. Am I the asshole being absolutely livid over this? I feel like a complete breach of privacy has happened. I'm mad at the studio for allowing it to happen and for the stepmom for not asking me about it or just creating a separate account for my daughter with her own payment information. The fitness studio has not really taken any blame but offered to change the account info back. They state they weren't alarmed because the stepmom has the same last name as my daughter. Apparently the stepmom was trying to sign my daughter up for classes over the summer, but she never consulted with me before changing and locking me out of my account. I let the fitness studio, and my ex-husband, have it. And basically told them this is wrong on so many levels, but now I'm a little embarrassed and honestly worried my ex will use this against me somehow. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, did you talk to the manager? If not, please do so. Or owner. By the way, cancel the card or whatever you pay with on that account and get a new one. If you are not getting satisfactory answers from the studio, please go to another one. Reply, yes, I've been talking to the manager and it seems to be some back and forth thing where I am expecting more empathy, but they just keep saying they have resolved this by changing the info back. But then they said I yelled at the staff and that staff member is going to write a statement, which came across as threatening retaliation to me. I didn't cuss or anything, but yes, I was passionate. Commenter 2, NTA. The fitness studio had no business adding your ex's new wife to your account. I would be livid if any of my account information was given to another person without my consent. There are several privacy laws to protect consumers in these situations. I would file a complaint with corporate since they're being so nonchalant about breaching your privacy. Reply, thanks. Unfortunately or fortunately, this is a local place. Commenter 2, I'm sorry the manager isn't being empathetic and has made you feel bad about your reaction. Giving another person access to your account and payment information is unacceptable. Maybe write a 1-star Google and Yelp review and try to reach out to the owner directly if it's a different person than the manager. Reply, so I did this, and she wrote back the most awful response, calling me a liar and claimed they tried to contact me to talk this over. They hadn't. They claimed I yelled at their employee. I did raise my voice and tell them they really need to get it together, but respectfully, if that makes. I was just scared it would impact my custody situation somehow, so I deleted the review. Commenter 3, NTA, you should probably report this to law enforcement so that an officer can go speak to fitness studio owner manager. This is a major privacy data breach. They likely broke protocol and should have called you first to confirm that you were okay with the change. You should contact the studio owner if they were not present to ensure they are aware of what happened. You and your ex-husband also need to have a calm, respectful discussion about your boundaries when it comes to spouses. This was an overstep on his wife's part, but he is responsible for co-parenting successfully with you. Most importantly, keep your daughter outside of the drama. Make sure she knows it isn't her fault, she didn't do anything wrong, and it's a grown-up issue. Reply, good points, and yes, I didn't mention any of this to her, but of course she comes to me telling me she heard I made a huge deal out of this. I tried to explain to her I needed to stand up for my boundaries and privacy, and has nothing to do with her being able to attend the fitness classes. Hopefully she will understand. Downvoted commenter, you aren't wrong to be angry with the business for changing your information. If the stepmom asked for the information to be changed, she overstepped. Maybe she asked to book a class and they changed the information. They should have opened a separate account for the stepmom to book classes. Unless you know for sure that she asked them to access your personal information, I would put the blame on the business where it belongs. As for being angry about her booking a class for your daughter, if you and your ex share custody and you don't consult him on the activities in which you enroll your daughter, you can't expect the same courtesy from him. Any step-parent that steps up to love your child is okay in my book. Reply, I'm not necessarily angry about her booking a class for my daughter, but I guess how she went about it. My ex knew about the fitness classes, and that is how the stepmom knew she had an account there, if that makes sense. Where is you based in? Reply, US. I responds to a downvoted commenter regarding the stepmother making unauthorized charges with the gym's mistakes. Reply, even if she changed my daughter's info, she shouldn't be replacing the mother's info and changing it to hers, especially without any communication to me first. I see. The gym confirmed she changed this info in person, and sounds like she alluded to being the mom to my daughter. I guess I'm going off of the history because I did have to send her a cease and desist letter 6 months ago for some similar things. But yes, it may more of the gym's fault than hers, or not as malicious as I'm thinking. I just don't understand why she wouldn't create a new account altogether for her, or just ask me for the login info, you know. Update, the studio sent me an email stating that the plan was to have the stepmom use a feature in MindBody, the booking app, that allows you to pay for another client's classes. Is this okay? If this is true, do I deserve a heads up? They said the stepmom didn't ask to change the password, but I couldn't log in when my email address was changed. I currently live in a small town, but was raised in the city, and apparently the owners of this gym fitness studio are friends with the stepmom, which explains why they seem to be defending her. They asked to meet in person. I spoke with my lawyer and I wrote them a response, basically with all my grievances plus, saying I didn't want to communicate anymore, and copied him. I filed a police report mainly for documentation. I hadn't said anything to my daughter about any of this. When I picked her up the other day, she was so angry and said I made a huge deal and now she can't attend the classes. I told her I never ever said she can't attend classes. Of course I'm reconsidering that now based off this whole thing. And she seemed to understand how it was a violation of a boundary, but of course I'm annoyed with her dad's stepmom for even bringing her into it all like that. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, don't forget that she did in fact make charges against your credit card. She signed up your daughter for classes and used your credit card for it. This is fraud. Reply, no, I caught it in time before this happened. Stories number 5. Aita for not letting my brother's girlfriend be in our wedding family photo. I, 28M, recently got married. Everything went well overall, but there was a bit of drama involving my brother, 26M, and his current girlfriend, 22F. Basically, brother has a new girlfriend like every month. I'm not exaggerating. He never had a relationship that lasted longer than 2 to 3 months, and we've all just kind of gotten used to it. It's kinda of a family joke actually too, lol. So when it came time to take our official family wedding photos, I got him to the side and I asked him politely if his girlfriend could sit out of that specific photo. They were together for 2 months, we included her in the casual shots, but for the formal family portrait that's going to be framed and hung in our home, I just didn't want including someone who we probably won't even see again in a month on our family picture that will stay forever. He got really upset and said I was being disrespectful to him and his relationship. He said I'm acting like his relationships don't matter. My dad came and convinced him for a moment to take the photo without her, but they left the wedding early after taking the photo without her. Now he's barely talking to any of us. Worst thing is, my mom is on his side and said I should have included her and that I can't know if their relationship is gonna last or not. She said once me and my wife were in our second month dating and how we got to marriage. Now both my brother and my mom are mad at me. I don't feel like I did anything wrong. I got nothing against her personally, she seems nice, but I know my brother. I don't think he takes relationships serious. He had more GFS last year than I had in my lifetime, lol. Stories number 6. Friend wanted me to cancel my kids' party to attend her kids' party. So me and my 2 friends, all 33F, have been a trio since middle school. Ironically, all 3 of our oldest children have the same exact birthday but different years. Me and Tanya have boys aged 8 and 10. Lauren has a 2-year-old daughter. A few months ago, Tanya and I decided to plan a bowling laser tag birthday party for our boys. We told Lauren about the party and invited her. She said she would try to make it. Cool. The party was on a weekend, not the day of their actual birthday. A few days before the party, Lauren FaceTimed Tanya and I to invite us to her daughter's birthday party. It was for the same day as our boys' party. No big deal. It's the weekend after their birthdays, so we knew the parties would eventually clash. We told her we wouldn't be able to make it and we thought that was that. The day after the party, Tanya and I FaceTimed Lauren to ask how her daughter's party went. We saw pictures online and thought the decorations came out beautifully. We were all ears, just waiting on the details of baby girl's second birthday. Instead, we were met with anger. Lauren starts asking why we didn't show up. We were at our boys' party and she knew this. She then tells us we were supposed to cancel their party and come to her daughter's. When I asked her why she would think we would even consider doing that, she said a second birthday party was more important than 8 and 10 and we should have just picked a different day. I'm not one to argue, so I tell Lauren she's tripping and hang up the video call. The next day I noticed she logged me out and changed the password to a streaming account we shared. Is it that serious? I guess to her it was. I haven't talked to Lauren since. Stories number 7. SIL expressed I don't deserve our new house. Now husband's family is melting down. My husband, 38M, and I, 33F, just bought our first house. My husband has a pretty high-paying job. I work and make a decent salary, but our budget to buy our house was definitely influenced more by his earnings. We had his family over last week. Generally I loved his parents, they've always been really good to me and they're fun. I have not spent as much time with his sister outside of holiday gatherings, but we do have her son, husband's nephew, stay with us for a week over the summer the last few years, so I know him well too and love him. So everyone mentioned above comes over and we show them around the house. At one point I'm showing SIL a kitchenette in the basement and I say something like, "It's great that our house has this space now, so if you want to visit us you'll have basically a separate apartment." And she goes, "Our? Is it also your house?" I'm immediately confused, but also I guess she could have assumed my husband bought it on his own. I said, "Yeah, we bought it together." And she goes, "Do you think you deserve to own half of this house?" I don't know, I just think that's crazy. I was shocked and I mostly panicked, said, "Well I do, yeah." And fled the basement. I immediately told my husband, away from his family, and he in turn immediately went to talk to his sister. I went to hang out with his parents and didn't say anything to them, but then we heard shouting outside. My husband and his sister were yelling at each other. I know people are different with their siblings, but I've never really heard him yell before. I could hear him tell her that we don't have a prenup, and she called him an idiot. I had to tell his parents what was going on. They went and intervened and left pretty quickly with his sister and nephew, who didn't hear any of this through the magic of video games I think. His mom said sorry to me on the way out. I did touch base with my husband and he was livid, like way more angry than I'd expect. He told me that before we got married his sister was the beneficiary of his life insurance and he thought she was angry over essentially being removed from all his assets, but we've been married 3 years. She apparently had texted him about being added on to the house paperwork a few weeks ago during the buying process and he just ignored her. His parents have reached out to me and have been very sweet, apologetic, but they really want to fix things and have asked if I'll talk to SIL. I'm trying to step away from it and just say it's now between my husband and his sister. Is that fair? Of course I'm a bit hurt by her saying that, but at the end of the day if she has problems with how he's handling his assets that's between the two of them, right? I feel really bad because his family has always been so sweet, and I really love his nephew, so I also want things to be fixed. Edit. Wow, this blew up a bit. I will make an update. We have plans to chat about it today and speak with his patents and figure out how we want to go forward. I agree with essentially all of you, and I'm not planning to discuss it with her until she apologizes. And to answer some common questions, nephew's dad is not and has not been on the picture for a long time. SIL has been in and out of relationships with not the best types of dudes. She is younger and there's no other siblings. Yes, there's been a pattern of her getting more help from their parents, but it's because she really needs it with being a single mom, and my husband has always been pretty independent. I promise I don't tell every person on the street about our lack of a prenup. My husband did come into the marriage with a lot of assets, so I think when his friends and family expressed curiosity about a prenup it was coming from a place of concerned care for him, and I love that, so it felt appropriate to share how we made that decision. No one ever pushed back. I've never talked to his sister about it, and I think she didn't know, but my husband sort of yelled it at her in anger in a "we don't even have a prenup" way. We are planning on kids, but could still keep up what we currently do for nephew even if we did, and he just became an official teenager, so the college fund is close to complete at this stage. We don't add much money to it anymore, it's just accruing. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, was she planning to unalive your husband? That's just weird. Yeah, I would let husband deal with this. Reply, hahaha, oh gosh no I don't think so. I think she was just on a lot of his assets. I know we definitely have a college fund for nephew that my husband has had open since the kid was born. Commenter 2, I'm sorry, what? Why wouldn't you be part owner? I don't understand. Reply, I think she thought my husband bought the house himself and was just letting me live there. Commenter 3, first, please stop feeling bad. You did nothing wrong. SIL decided to go nuclear with you. Her behavior is not normal. Finances between you and your husband are none of her business. You just need to support your husband and let him deal with it. You've been very patient and fair. I'm not sure I could have held my anger at the blatantly rude and intrusive crap from SIL. Reply, thank you, I know it's insane and I should feel angry, but I mostly just feel so confused. Like, I totally understand people might side-eye when they hear we don't have a prenup considering our income difference, but we got married years ago and she's never said anything about it until this house. Commenter 4, what could you possibly say to your SIL? I think you say that the issue isn't really about you, it's about how SIL thinks everything that is your husband's is part hers. That's something your husband needs to set straight, not you. You just sit there and stay pleasant. You handled this perfectly. It's not your battle and your husband has your back, clearly. SIL sounds insane. Reply, I know this is right, but it's just really frustrating. We've had the awkward conversation of explaining why we don't have a prenup to some friends and family, and I really don't mind getting into those topics or talking about those things. I know this is different because she's not coming from a place of curiosity or just wanting to understand, but it's wild to me that it jumped this quickly suddenly when we bought a house. Commenter 5, and just why does his sister think she's more entitled to your husband's and your assets? Where's her husband's significant other? Reply, she's been really unlucky in relationships, been with some real shitty dudes, and the kid's dad is totally off the map and has been for years, which is partially why my husband has his college fund and pays for a bunch of his extra stuff like camps and sports. When he comes to stay with us it's for a private baseball camp thing. Update. Holy shit, y'all, I was not expecting that much feedback. But I'm super grateful, it was really affirming and validating to read a lot of those comments, and a bit humbling, too. This recent move did move us a little bit out of town, so I'm still close to my social circle, but didn't immediately have someone to vent to, and you all were really helpful in that way. To update, she was secretly planning his murder to get the life insurance money. No, not really. After talking a bunch with both my husband and his parents we figured out a few things. He didn't tell her that he's replaced her as the beneficiary on everything because he assumed she would know that. So she had texted him during the home purchase, hey, do you need my signature on anything for this new house? He had messaged her back, no. She then essentially asked if the house was an asset, set up like his life insurance. And he told her that everything is set up fine and that I'm on all of paperwork, and she's responded, okay, smiley face. So I do think part of this is her truly not knowing how marriage is supposed to work, and she seems to have expected there wouldn't be any change. I found out she also mentioned this with their parents, her main concern being that if something happened to my husband, I wouldn't help her son like we've been doing as a couple. MIL and FIL say they told her not to worry and that I love our nephew, but that was what was going on behind the scenes before all this. MIL and FIL also admitted that they may have unintentionally encouraged this, because they've always really encouraged their kids to support each other, but due to the various dynamics at play what that ends up being is pressure on my husband and a sort of, your brother will always be there for you, message to his sister. This was particularly strong in the last few years before I met and married him because his parents thought he was planning to be a lifelong bachelor, they're not wrong in this, he definitely had that mindset at a time, and so then he and his sister really were, in their eyes, each other's lifelong person. So the last few years there had been this level of fallout I wasn't even aware of due to that. I also learned SIL is in a not great financial situation, and due to past issues the whole family essentially refuses to give her cash but will do things like buy groceries or pay a phone bill. So she's been struggling and I think feeling a little desperate and jealous. Oh, of course none of this is an excuse and I'm not speaking to her until I get an apology. My husband has also said he needs at least a week or two before he speaks to her, but he does plan to. His parents are totally in agreement and understand. They are going to tell her that we talked about the dynamics at play and that she needs to acknowledge what is going on here and take accountability for her part in it, so hopefully that will kickstart things in the right direction. Being too understanding and too flexible has been a difficulty for me for a long time. Having feedback about how truly fucked up that situation was really helpful for me, so thank you. For me there's a fine line between being unbothered and being a doormat, and I'm definitely working on differentiating those two. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. It sounds to me that she is mad you are getting her payout. She thought she was getting everything of his until you came. Very entitled. Reply, and there's payout unless my husband literally dies. Which, for the record, I really don't want to have happen. Commenter 2, EW. Your husband is gonna need some therapy to unpack all this weird enmeshment. Commenter 3, the whole, you two are going to be lifelong partners, as siblings, from the parents, emotional incest indeed. EW. Single mom here, would never expect or ask this of my brother single or otherwise, just wow. Reply, I understand where his parents were coming from to a degree. It basically started out as, you're the older brother, look out for her. But then he progressed and became really successful and financially successful, and she struggled in various, and so it really snowballed. I am glad they realize that the enmeshment is an issue. Commenter 4, this is all very unhealthy and it does not sound remotely finished. It sounds as if she is expecting y'all to basically be the other parents to her child. What's next? Asking you to split college tuition. Buy him a car. These things all need to be addressed. I am close with my family and help with their children, but it is never expected. It's my choice to do so. Girl, get this shit sorted, it's gonna keep coming back up. Reply, haha, we are on track to pay for his college tuition, but really I just hope this is going to be clearly boundaried moving forward, but it felt pretty boundaries even before this. Before this happened, my husband and I agreed the things we do for him are things we offer, not things that are asked for. We even have this rule with him, he can tell us what he likes and what he's into too, and we might get him stuff especially when he stays with us, but he's not gonna approach us with, can you get me XYZ, type talk. OOP explains what happens if SL wants another kid and would she and her husband be able to support the same degree? Reply, that's really tricky, I think it would depend on a few variables. Nephew's sperm donor completely disappeared when he was 2-ish, like truly no idea where he is or if he's alive, so to me it feels like nephew has a unique need. I would deeply hope a similar situation wouldn't happen with another kid, but either way if she was to decide to have a child given her current circumstance that would be so irresponsible. Stories number 8. Aita for not planning anything for Father's Day after my husband ruined my first Mother's Day. I'm 98.7% sure that I am not the AH here, but I'm wrong. I'm willing to admit it and learn from my mistakes. Our little boy will be 1 late this summer, so this was the first Mother's Day and Father's Day for both me and my husband. My husband asked what I wanted for Mother's Day. I didn't need anything big or expensive. What I asked for is, for husband to get up with the little guy and get him fed while I pumped and chilled. Breakfast in bed, just toast, scrambled eggs and coffee. For us to take the little guy to the zoo for the first time. This was the main thing I was looking forward to. Go to my fave taco place for dinner. Between morning and afternoon naps we have about 4 hours of awake time. The zoo is ABT 30 minutes away, so I had figured if we left as soon as he got up from his nap and ate, we'd have a couple hours at the zoo and worst case he could sleep in the car on the way home. We took my mom and my MIL out to brunch the prior weekend to celebrate them, his mom on Saturday and my mom on Sunday. I also got them each a thoughtful little present and flowers to celebrate their first Mother's Day as grandparents. I arranged everything and told my mom and MIL that we'd be celebrating on the actual day with just our little family and sent them a group chat, which included husband, my dad, and FIL, just to make sure everyone is on the same page. My MIL is very pushy and overbearing, so I didn't want there to be any surprises or confusion. The Saturday before Mother's Day, FIL sent my husband a text with a picture of all the mulch he just had delivered and said something like, "Gonna be a busy weekend," or something like that. Apparently he had 300 bags of mulch. They have a big yard with lots of flower beds. That night my MIL called my husband and asked him to come over first thing in the morning to help his dad move the bags of mulch to where they were going to be used. She said since we weren't going to the zoo until after little guy's nap, that husband could go over and help for a couple hours and then come pick us up to go to the zoo. I was obviously not happy, but she guilted him and said if IL was going to end up hurting himself if he moved all that by himself and that it's not a big deal and should only take an hour or two. I told him his mom was doing this to try and get us to skip our plans and spend the day with them, but he kept saying it's not a big deal, saying his mom promised it would only take a couple hours, etc. etc. I think most people know what happened. Husband went over first thing, which means no breakfast in bed, and I had to get up to feed the little guy. I was kinda pissed, but whatever. Spent time with the little guy. Then when he went down for his morning nap I texted my husband to let him know he should start wrapping things up. Then when little guy woke up 2 hours later I called husband to tell him I'd be ready to go as soon as I finished feeding the little guy. He told me it was taking longer than he expected but that he'd hurry. Like an hour and a half later husband called and said they weren't done but he was getting ready to come home. It's 15 to 20 minute drive from my LFIL's house. At that point we'd missed the window to make it to zoo, so I told him to just stay there and finish and not worry about Mother's Day since he hadn't done a single thing I asked for. I don't think there was any doubt in his mind how pissed I was. A little later his mom called and said since we decided not to go to the zoo, that me and little guy should go hang out with her while the boys finished with the mulch. I admit that I was pretty pissy and told her I had no interest in spending time with the people who decided to ruin my first Mother's Day. I ended up staying home and ordering a pizza and binging Netflix. When husband got home he was all apologetic and asked how he could make it up. I was still pissed and told him he could make it up by not ruining my first Mother's Day. I also told him he should plan on spending Father's Day with his mom and dad. Me and the little guy were going to go celebrate Father's Day with my mom and dad. Since Mother's Day MIL has been texting and calling, but I've been keeping conversations short and just giving very bland generic responses. My husband has been apologizing and asking what he can do, but honestly I don't want to bother. I know it's just a day and we can celebrate any time, like we did with my mom and MIL. But it was my first ever Mother's Day. And it's not like I asked for anything expensive or difficult. The only difficult thing is he's incapable of setting boundaries with his mom. And she's incapable of considering anyone's feelings but her own. This past Saturday he asked if I was still going to my parents', then said he'd like to go with us. I told him he could do whatever he wanted, but since I hadn't done anything for his dad he might want to go see him or something. We did both end up going to my parents and spending the day with them. It was actually a nice day. My dad insisted on grilling because of course he did, but the weather ended up being nice and we spent a lot of time hanging out on their deck playing with the little guy. I'm not sure what if anything my husband did for his dad. I know he was getting a lot of texts during the day, I assume from his mom. She did send me a snippy text saying it was hurtful to spend the day with my family at the expense of husband's, but I told her she got to spend Mother's Day with her baby boy, so it's only fair that I spend Father's Day with my family. I know my husband was hurt that we didn't acknowledge him for Father's Day, but I told him while we were driving to my parents' house that I'm just matching his energy. I admit that I haven't done anything to de-escalate the drama, but I'm still just so hurt he continues to prioritize his mom's feeling over our little family. This isn't the first time his mom has done crap like this and I'm just so tired of it. She always oversteps and insists on doing what she wants. I'm doing better at keeping her at arm's length and holding my own boundaries, but my husband is absolutely incapable of it. Stories number 9. Aita for taking the only 2-seat table in the restaurant all to myself. I, 35F, have given up on dating but still enjoy date activities, so once a month I take myself out on a date. I go out to the movies, museums and even mini golf by myself. And I always treat myself to a nice lunch dinner around 3 to 4 p.m., after the lunch rush but before the dinner rush too, so I have plenty of time to enjoy my food. For my self-dates, I always look for a new restaurant to try. Saturday I found this great little Mediterranean place. It's a real gem, hidden away at the end of a strip mall, with murals on the walls, lovely guitar music, and only about 7 tables total. When I got there only one other table was occupied and I sat in the only 2-seater table. The waiter got me my drink and I had just put in my order when a couple walked in. They looked around the small restaurant, saw me at the only 2-seat table and approached the waiter. I was on my Kindle and not paying attention until I heard the waiter say, "There are plenty of other tables." They argued for another minute before I heard the man say, "She won't take that long to eat. She's all alone." The woman huffed and they sat at the 4-seat table right next to me. They ordered waters and loudly said they were still deciding what they wanted but were clearly stalling because she looked right at me as she said it. I chose to ignore it. When I treat myself to self-dates I go all out and order an appetizer, soup, salad, and entree. My appetizer came out and I clearly heard the man say, "See, it's just a small meal, she'll be gone soon." I didn't say anything and just enjoyed my food. When I finished, the woman grabbed her purse like she was going to dash to my table before someone else came in, only for the waiter to bring out my soup. I took my time eating the soup as the waiter again asked the couple if they're ready to order. The woman said they're still deciding and needed water refills. Then my entree came out. As soon as they saw it, the woman said, "Are you *****ing kidding me?" The food was amazing, and even though I knew they were waiting for my table, I took my time appreciating my meal. Halfway through, the waiter again asked them if they were ready. The man said he was starving and ordered. The woman was clearly not happy but also ordered. I was tempted to order dessert too, but I was stuffed. I paid my check, and as I was leaving I saw the couple moving their plates over to my table, which hadn't even been cleared off yet. At the time I thought it was hilarious, but when I told my friends about it, they said I had been an AH. They said restaurants like that were for couples on dates, not single people, and that it wouldn't have been a big deal for me to move or gotten takeaway and eaten at home. I said it was 4 p.m. not prime date time, and that there were 5 other tables to pick from, but they said I'd taken the most romantic table and ruined their date for my own enjoyment. Now I'm not sure, and I'm asking the internet for an impartial judgment. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. NTA: I hate when people get angry at single people just for existing. Single people need to eat too, and you shouldn't have to rush to get out of the way. Ever. Reply: thank you so much. The friends who told me I'm the AH are all in relationships and think that my self-dates are weird. Commenter 2. NTA: most places don't even have one-person tables. It's more of an asshole move to occupy a 4-seater as a singleton, unless there's no other option, than a 2-seater. It's not your fault that they wanted your table and didn't even have the courtesy to ask you directly if you wouldn't mind moving. Reply: that's the part that was so wild to me, that they didn't even ask. If they'd been polite about it I might have even moved, but they were just so passive-aggressive. Commenter 3. Nta: what lousy friends you have. There should be a discussion group for single diners, so we never have to have a meal together, but it's judgment-free zone. I'm so sick of hearing the response, "Wow, I could never do that by myself, Jesus." It's food. You've done it by yourself since you were a toddler. Reply: I've actually prefer eating alone now that I've gotten used to it. There's no awkward conversations pauses where you're looking for something to say, you don't have to worry if the other person is judging what you ordered, and it's not rude if I want to pull out my Kindle and keep reading a great book. I honestly don't know why more people don't go out by themselves. Commenter 4. NTA: not single but pre-COVID I loved taking a book to a restaurant and just enjoying a meal and some time alone. People do get judgmental. It's none of their business how long you're there, or whether you are on a date. If the restaurant didn't want to serve you, they wouldn't have seated you. And the waiter should have seated the couple elsewhere or asked them to leave. Reply: it was a seat yourself kind of situation. The waiter totally knew what was up and kept giving me sympathetic looks. I don't blame him because he was only a teenager. I know how rough the food service industry is and he needed to make his tips. He totally had my back though and asked me if I was sure I didn't want dessert. Next time I go I'm definitely going to try the baklava. Update: in case anyone is interested. Just wanted to give my thanks to all of you who left such lovely responses to my original post. I did end up forwarding it to my friends and most of them read it and apologized to me. I know a lot of people said that my friends were terrible, but I think they really were just blinded by internalized societal standards for women. They've all said they'll back off on trying to get me to date, and I may have even converted one of them to my way of self-dates. My friend 37F recently went through a divorce and is having a terrible time dating again. She was hesitant to go out by herself like I do, so we did a kind of compromise. We drove separately to a Japanese garden she'd been wanting to visit but that her husband never wanted to go to. We met up outside but went in separately. I wandered around the gardens and she went to a tea ceremony there by herself, so I was still close by in case she got too nervous. Afterwards we went to the restaurant from the original post. This time the tables were configured so that there were several two-top tables and there was no sign of the couple from the original post. Again, we went in separately and I went in first with my friend, waiting 5 minutes before coming in. I told my friend beforehand that she could either sit by herself and we pretend we don't know each other, or, if she was too nervous, she could just join me at my table. We both sat at separate tables and had a lovely time reading our books, enjoying the food, and occasionally sneaking glances at each other like little kids with a secret. The food was just as good as the first time and I only ate half of my entree this time, so I had room for dessert. The baklava was just as good as all the other food, made with pistachio and walnut with real honey and rose water. My friend had a blast and is now planning her own solo outings to places and restaurants she's always wanted to try. Stories number 10. My husband refuses to change our baby's diapers. My husband, 23M, and I, 22F, have a beautiful 8-week-old daughter. He seemed somewhat excited to be a dad throughout my pregnancy, but I feel like maybe he wasn't as excited as I hoped. We had a miscarriage in November of 2023 and he seemed more excited during that pregnancy than he did this time. Throughout the pregnancy he would say he is excited but that he doesn't want to change diapers because it's gross. I had a talk with him about how I understand why it can be intimidating because he is a man and she is a baby girl and she has different parts than he does and it can feel intimidating to clean those parts correctly because he has never changed a diaper before. I reassured him that I would be here to help and show him what to do. He even practiced putting a diaper on a stuffed teddy bear before I had the baby. I thought he would get over it after I had the baby, but he did not. He refuses to even be in the room while I change her. Every time I bring it up and ask, so when do you want to start changing her diaper? He just says, we're doing this again. I do not regret having my baby. I have always wanted a baby and was definitely ready, but I feel like he was not ready. Am I overreacting? How can I talk with him about this? Edit to add, I asked him what is so gross about changing diapers and he said, everything. The different parts, and then kinda trailed off like there was more to that sentence than what was said. He said that she is never away from me, so why should he have to do it? He said, why would I take her from you to change her and then bring her back when you could just do it? And I said, because you're her dad. What if something happened to me? Or what if I had to leave her with you for an hour or two? And he said at that point he would look it up on YouTube and wouldn't leave her sitting in a soiled diaper. Comments. Commenter 1. Profile badge for the achievement. Top 1% commenter. Top 1% commenter. Nor, I think you need to keep pushing him. I'd start by digging into what he thinks is gross about it. Touching poop. The smell. Female parts. Talk about what would he do if you were incapacitated and the options were to change the diaper himself or have her physically harmed with a rash. What will he do when you get sick and need more rest? If he's willing to try, will he stay in the room while you do it as a first step? Then do it with you watching as another baby step? Or does he refuse to be in room at all? If he won't try, I think I'd insist on therapy. You can't just opt out of parts of parenting that are essential to a baby's health. Reply. I have mentioned the incapacitated part and he acts like, oh, that will never happen, but you never know what can happen. I will keep pushing him and try to get him to at least stay in the room and then move forward from there. Commenter 2. Nor honestly, fake being sick for a day or two. Man's gotta learn somehow, better to do a soft launch when you can still step in to help than wait for actual issues to arise and baby girl to suffer an incompetent parent forevermore. Also, as the bestie of a mama, and godparent of the best lil dude, who is currently going through the first steps of separation divorce, I must implore you to start your boundaries and forcing hard limits now. This is just the first red flag of many red flags to potentially come, and if you don't nip it in the bud now, then he's gonna think he has the right to refuse a lot more, like chores, feeds, actual parenting, any and all decision making, etc. in the future. It might sound like I'm projecting a bit, but that's because I am. I don't want you going through what my bestie is going through right now. Trust me, you need to protect your girl by making sure her dad knows how to be a dad. Reply, lately I've been struggling to remember to drink enough water and getting dehydrated, which comes with dizziness, fatigue, and feeling shaky weak. When I tell him I don't feel good, he will take her and keep her company by holding her or talking to her until I feel well enough to take her back. So I know he's definitely capable and will do it, but he just has to want to do it more often than what he does. I will talk with him about this as well. Update. So I read all 416 comments on the previous post. You all collectively agreed that I was not overreacting, that my husband is a shitty father and husband, that I married a loser, and that I should leave if he doesn't change his ways. So after he got home from work last night, the baby needed to be changed, so I asked him to come into the other room and simply observe while I changed the diaper, and he agreed. I said he could observe a few diaper changes, and then when it was just a plain pee diaper I would let him know that it's his turn, and he once again argued about not wanting to change diapers. I told him that he will eventually have to suck it up because he is a parent now, and if he didn't want to be a parent he shouldn't have agreed to become one. He said he didn't want to be a dad as bad as I wanted him to be, and that he only got me pregnant because I wanted to be a mom so bad. I reminded him that he was the one who got the conversation about kids started several years ago when he said he wouldn't mind having a kid. He said yeah, I wouldn't mind, and then I cut him off and said but you only want the fun parts and not any of the gross non-fan parts. I told him that I'm on the verge of being burnt out and that I feel like a married single mom. He said I was bashing him, and I said I wasn't bashing, but simply pointing out the obvious, and then I left the room because the baby was crying to be fed. He joined me in the other room a few minutes later to apologize, and restated that he just doesn't want to change diapers. I asked him what the issue is with changing diapers, and he said he feels like a man shouldn't change little girls' diapers. He is afraid people will see him as a pedophile. I told him nobody will see him as a pedophile because that is his child. It would be different if he volunteered to change a little girl that wasn't his child. I told him that he should start sooner rather than later because the diapers won't get any easier, they will only become nastier. In the end he agreed to observe a few diaper changes to learn what to do, and then start with pee diapers and maybe eventually change poopy diapers. He seems to have a serious issue with the poop part, but I told him we could get some rubber gloves and some masks and put peppermint oil on the mask so he won't have to smell it. One of you recommended the peppermint oil on the mask. Good idea, by the way. I will be asking him to join me for every diaper change between the time he gets home from work and the time we go to bed. Since I am a som and he works, I will not ask him to get up during the night unless he just wants to. I know most of you will probably not like that, but for now that is what we will do until he gets comfortable with daytime diaper changes. In a few days, on a night where he doesn't have to work the next day, I will ask him to get up and join us for the midnight diaper changes. I hope he will change and become a more active parent in our baby's life. To all of you who said I should leave because being a single mom is better than being a married single mom, I would rather be a married single mom who doesn't have to leave my baby with a stranger and go to work. At least this way he goes to work and makes money and I get to stay home with my baby. I will keep pushing him and working on him to make him a more active parent. I know we are too young to be having children, but I felt like I was more than ready. My oldest sister is special needs to the highest degree and has to wear diapers. So all my life I have been changing diapers. I have helped several family members with their babies from newborn to age 2 to 3, so I have helped raise several babies, around 6 babies, so I knew being a mom was all I've ever wanted. I was just waiting for him to be ready, and I thought he was, but I guess not. Thank you for reading this update and the original post. I appreciate all advice and help. I apologize for my shit show of a life, lol. Comments. Commenter 1. If you are breastfeeding only, hand him the baby after she eats. He needs to know how to burp her as well. If you do any bottles, let him feed her. Babies can be gross, but taking care of them is how we bond with them. He doesn't know how much he would regret missing out on that. Like when you leave them alone together and all she does is cry for mom for 3 hours straight. Reply, he does better at burping her than I do actually. I always joke that it's because his hands are bigger than mine and covers more surface area of her little back. I usually hand her off to him to burp her unless it's the middle of the night and he's asleep. Update. So it's been about a month. I've talked it over with him again and again. We've argued about it a few times, the most recent argument being a few days ago. He has watched me change a handful of diapers and I kept reminding him that he needs to do it and that he can start with pee diapers and eventually work his way to the gross, poopy diapers. I started small. When I would change her, I would get her all cleaned up, and when the only step left was putting on a clean diaper, I would bring her to him with no diaper on, lay her on our bed, hand him the clean diaper and say, "Here, do it." Of course he complained, but I made him do it. After a few times of that, I brought it up again. That was when we had the most recent argument. We argued for a few minutes. He gave the same bullshit excuses about how it's gross and he doesn't want to do it, and I reminded him that being an adult and especially a parent means doing things you don't want to do sometimes. He feels like just because he goes to work he is exempt from housework and taking care of our baby. I reminded him that I can't do 100% of the baby care and 100% of the housework. If he expects me to do 100% of the housework, then we will be a team and he will help with baby care. If he refuses to help with baby, then he needs to help with the housework. The argument didn't end well and I gave him the cold shoulder and some attitude for a few days. I also completely stopped doing housework. Laundry was piling up. Sink full of dirty dishes. The house was a wreck. It was bothering me because I hate for it to look like that, but I knew I had to stand my ground. For a few days I did nothing but baby care. Then yesterday, he did a few loads of laundry because we barely had anything clean left. He finished eating his dinner before me. I asked him to take her so I could finish eating. He agreed and took her out of the room. A few minutes later he pokes his head in the room, holding a diaper and asks, "Is this the right diaper?" There were 2 different brands on the changing table and we had to size up recently because our little lady is a chonk, so I guess he got confused. I said yes and immediately followed him into the other room to observe the diaper change and give direction if needed. He did a decent job on his own without my help. I was pleasantly surprised that he did it without me asking or arguing. I started to say thank you but decided against it because it's not like he's doing me a favor. He is doing what a dad is supposed to do. So instead I gave him a fist bump and said good job. I asked him what made him decide to do it after all this time and he said he was tired of me being on his ass about it all the time. So I guess I will stay on his ass about it and make sure he continues on his path of improvement. Thank you all for all the advice and help you have given. I'm slightly happy with this recent improvement but wish it had come along way sooner. TLDR, after several arguments over the last month he finally changed a diaper for the first time yesterday. Comments. Commenter 1. I'm so glad he realized he needs to participate in raising his own daughter. Good on you for managing to make your point without yelling and screaming. I hope things continue to improve. Commenter 2, but he didn't realize he needs to participate. In her own words, he did it because he was tired of me being on his ass about it all the time. So now her solution is to stay on his ass about it. So she gets to be a mother to a man-child. I'm glad you're happy OP, but I hope you have financial security for when you eventually get sick of mothering a grown adult. Reply, thank you. I was almost ready to give up. I was tired of having the same argument over and over with no results. I mentioned staying with my parents and said I doubted he would even miss us, and he said he would. So maybe the idea of us not being around made him sad and he decided to be an active parent. I'm not 100% sure what happens in that man's brain, but as long as there's improvement I won't question it. Commenter 3, I want to know what he thinks will happen if you leave him for being unsupportive. Will he just not see his daughter at all? Or, let her sit in a filthy diaper the entire visit so he gets in trouble for neglect? Or, will he have to step his ass up because no one else is there to do it for him? Maybe he needs a new perspective and you need a lunch date with friends. Reply, we discussed potential divorce and I asked him how he thinks he will get to see her when he won't, and doesn't know how to, change her, bathe her, feed her, or rock her to sleep. He said he would do it if we divorced, and I asked why he won't do it now, and his dumbass response was, why would I do it when you can just do it? I know a lot of comments are saying that this isn't a win, but it is what it is. Commenter 4, why would I do it if you can just do it? See how foolish that is? Why would I be married to a man making more work for me and contributing nothing but a paycheck and a bad attitude? I can avoid all of the mess you create, have my own paycheck, and my daughter and I can live without the extra work and complaining you provide. Seriously, what did he expect his role was in a marriage? I'm single at 40 and it sucks. I dearly wanted a husband and kids. But every single relationship got to this point, the point where I had to look at the man in my life and ask, what the fuck is the point of you? And there isn't a single one I regret leaving. Fuck being someone's kitchen appliance for life. Reply, I'm almost to that point. If he doesn't get his shit together and continue improving, I'm done. My mom has a spare room and would love nothing more than getting to see her grandbaby on a daily basis. Stories number 11. Aita for telling my parents I refuse to be their practice kid anymore. I, 18M, am the oldest of my parents' 5 children. There's me, brother, 13M, sister, 12F, sister, 10F, and brother, 7M. My parents never treated me that great, and the older I got, the worse it seemed to get. But I noticed as my siblings got older it was different, and they were night and day different with me. I wasn't allowed to spend a lot of time with friends as a kid. My parents said there was no way they'd do all that and I should be home. But my siblings from age 5 could go to friends' houses, and from age 4 if the friend lived in our neighborhood. When I asked my parents about it both times, they told me that I was their practice and they didn't want all their kids to whine into their face about missing out. My parents had the rule with me that you eat everything off your plate or it either gets saved for next time or you don't get to leave the table. When I say everything I mean clear your plate everything. So if I was full and left say 3 peas or something, I was forced to stay and finish or they'd be taken aside and served to me next time. Not with my siblings. And when I asked my parents about that, they said they learned from me. The next thing was grades. My parents were always super pissed off and angry when I got less than As. Even if it was AB and everyone in my class got AB because the test was especially hard, it didn't change my parents' stance. I was grounded for BS, I was forced to do extra chores for a month, I was left out of stuff. But my siblings could get CS and DS and it didn't change anything. This was another thing I brought up to my parents, and by that point they were tired of me asking why things were different, and they told me I was their practice run and they learned from things with me. And I know people learn from parenting as they go. But they learned with me and gave the benefits to my siblings. I saw none. They were never nicer, or let up on me. They didn't apologize for being hard on me or for yelling at me almost all the time. Nothing like that happened, and there are multiple other ways they were different between me and my siblings. Expectations for chores were way higher with me always. Birthday and Christmas gifts were way different, and noticeably so, to make both sides of the family question what they gave me because it seemed so little compared to my younger siblings, and it wasn't that mine was more expensive, it was always the opposite. There was also really strict times set for me. I wasn't allowed out past 4 p.m. during summer even in my teens. I wasn't allowed to attend certain birthday parties. Just so much stuff. My parents got annoyed over a year ago. My guidance counselor asked about any financial help I'd get with college and wanted to know if they had saved for me or anything. The way they reacted, it just pissed me off, and I know they saved for my siblings, so it was when I knew I was done. I kept my head down for a year and I left. I graduated last month and I didn't let my parents come. My siblings weren't there either. But my parents expected tickets and instead of claiming some for them I got them for my grandparents instead. My parents were angry and confronted me on it. I had already moved out of their house and I live with my paternal grandparents right now. I told my parents I was done being their practice kid and I refused to keep it up anymore. I said they can fuck up with my siblings and learn to live with it because I'm not here to be a punching bag while they get the best versions. My parents accused me of all kinds of things, called me all kinds of things. But I'm truly so done. Does that make me TA? Especially where my siblings are involved. That's why I'm asking here. Stories number 12. Aita for telling my Dale that I will never be her mother and to leave me alone. This is mostly about my daughter-in-law, Kat. Her mother ran out on her when she was a child, and she went into foster care. According to my son, she's currently seeing a therapist. My issue with Kat is that she has repeatedly stomped on my boundaries. She's a very touchy person, she refuses to call me by my name and only refers to me as Mom. I correct her every time since I'm not comfortable being called Mom by her, and I want her to use my name. There have been multiple times where she's asked inappropriate questions, mostly about why I'm not close to my own mother. For context, my mother was horrible. Kat keeps pushing for details and insists I should get closer to her because family sticks together. She basically tells me to forgive my mom, and she doesn't understand not being close with one's parents. I've told her to drop the topic multiple times, and she refuses. Because of all this, I'm not a huge fan of hers. I've spoken to my son about it, and he asked me to be patient. I've also talked to Kat multiple times and asked her to respect my boundaries. She always says she will, but then goes right back to ignoring them. This is where I might be the jerk. My daughter Sam, 20, and I are taking a weekend trip. Sam has medical issue and needs to see a specialist a few states over. She hasn't disclosed the issue to the rest of the family yet, she plans to when she has a firm plan. Somehow, word about the trip got back to Kat, and she called me asking why she wasn't invited. I told her it's an important trip and not a fun one. She accused me of lying, claiming it was a mother-daughter trip that she was excluded from. I told her again this is not a girls' trip. She wouldn't let it go and started demanding that she come, saying that she's my daughter and needs to be there. I said no again. She kept insisting, saying I am her mom and she has to come on this trip since is my kid. That's when I snapped. I told her I will never be her mother. Just because she married my son does not make me her parent. I told her to leave me the fuck alone and that even if this was a mother-daughter trip, she still wouldn't be invited, because she isn't my kid. I then hung up. My son says I need to apologize and invite her. That I am a huge dick to her. That I was way out of line and need to make it up to Kat. The situation has spread to the rest of the family, and everyone seems to have their own opinion. Sam is getting flack too, which isn't helping especially since she doesn't want to disclose the reason for the trip yet. Am I being an asshole and need to apologize even though those are my true feelings on her trying to make me her parent? Stories number 13. Aita for not letting my coworker borrow my charger even though her phone was dying. Okay, so this might sound petty, but I swear this has been building up for a while. I, 25F, work in an office with mostly cool people, but there's one girl. Let's call her Lisa, who constantly borrows things and never gives them back unless you ask. And even when you ask, it's with that sigh like you're bothering her for wanting your own stuff. Anyway, last week, I brought in my phone charger, the long, good one, not the gas station kind because I forgot to charge overnight. Around 2 p.m., Lisa strolls over and goes, "Hey, is your charger free? Mine's at home and I need to make a call later." Now, normally I'd say yes, but literally just 2 weeks ago she borrowed my charger and kept it for 3 days. I had to go chargerless at work and then finally walked over and asked for it back. She acted like I was being dramatic, so this time I said, "Actually, I kinda need it to keep my phone alive today." She got annoyed and said I was being selfish and that her phone was at 9%. I said, "Mine was at 7% 20 minutes ago, that's why I brought my charger." She gave me this look like I'd just kicked a puppy, rolled her eyes, and walked away. Now a couple of coworkers are saying it wouldn't have hurt me to let her use it, for just a bit, but I'm kind of tired of being the backup power bank for someone who doesn't return things unless she's hunted down like a side quest. Aita for saying no. TLDR, coworker wanted to borrow my charger. I said no because she always keeps stuff too long. She got mad. Was I being petty? Update, Aita for not letting my coworker borrow my charger even though her phone was dying. Hey y'all. Just wanted to say thanks for all the comments. I didn't expect this to get much attention, but wow, apparently we've all got a Lisa in our lives. So, here's the mini soap opera that unfolded. The day after the whole charger incident, Lisa came in acting super cold. Like, barely a nod in the break room, cold. I let it go because I honestly didn't feel like dying on the hill of, why are you being weird about my phone cable? Anyway, later that afternoon she made a very loud point of saying to no one in particular, some people just can't share, I guess, while pulling out one of those ancient brick backup chargers that charges your phone from 7% to 8% in an hour. I just sipped my coffee and pretended to be deep in an email to corporate, aka scrolling memes. But here's the best part, my manager actually pulled her aside, not me, and gently reminded her that personal items should be respected and that she should stop treating people's desks like a rental shelf. I didn't snitch, I swear. I think someone else must have overheard her salty commentary and reported it. Also, fun twist, turns out Lisa borrowed another girl's stapler a while back and it, mysteriously, ended up in her drawer. So, looks like I'm not the only one with a Lisa loan crisis. Moral of the story? Protect your chargers, your staplers, and your sanity. Anyway, thanks for backing me up. Feels good to know I wasn't being petty, just setting a boundary that should have been obvious. Let me know if Lisa tries to borrow oxygen next. Stories number 14. AIRJ for not wanting to give up my room for my pregnant sister. I still live at home with my parents while I finish grad school. I pay rent, help out around the house, and generally try to stay out of everyone's way. My older sister is married and recently found out she's pregnant, which I'm genuinely happy about. I really am. But now there's drama. She and her husband are in between apartments because their lease ended, and their new place won't be ready for another 3 months. My mom suggested they move in temporarily. I was fine with it until I found out my mom offered them my room. She didn't ask me first. When I brought it up, she said I should be more understanding because my sister is pregnant and needs the space. I offered to share the room instead of giving it up entirely. I have a desk, my books, and my whole life in that room. But my sister said it's not comfortable to share with me and she needs rest. Their plan is for me to move into the smaller guest room, which is basically a storage space with no closet, and live out of boxes for the next few months. I said no. I told them I'm willing to share or help rearrange things, but I'm not giving up my whole space like I don't matter. My sister called me selfish. My mom said she's disappointed in me. Even my dad, who's usually neutral, said it's not a big deal and I should be more supportive. Now I feel like the villain in my own house. But at the same time, I don't think it's fair to be treated like a placeholder in my own home just because I'm the youngest and not having a baby. Stories number 15. Aita for threatening to file a police report on my ex, and getting her former cop father involved. Over Black Friday, I bought 2 games, Mario Kart 8 and FF7 Remake, but due to an Amazon mix-up, it was mistakenly sent to my ex's. A few days ago, she let me know a package for me arrived. I apologized for the mix-up and asked her to forward it to me when she gets the chance. She was A-okay about it and promised to send it by the end of the week. I got the package, but the one game was missing. Hey! I didn't see FF7 here, is that coming separate? Nope. You get to buy that over 3-inch. Huh, okay, but really, is it in a separate package? Nope. It's my tax for helping you. Okay, all jokes aside, you are sending it, right? Utter silence. Hello? You are sending it, right? I get a phone call, and she asks if I'm mad. I said I will be if she's serious. She gets defensive and sleazy about trying to keep the game. I'm trying my hardest to reason with a 30-year-old woman about what stealing is, and I reach my limit. Her father is a great man and still keeps a good relationship with me, and he unfortunately needs to act as her moral compass sometimes, so I say, do I really need to get your father involved for you to do the right thing? Like I'm dealing with a 14-year-old. You wouldn't dare get my father involved in this. I hung up within a second, and called her father. Poor guy was pleasant as a peach, happy to hear from me, asking how the winter is treating us in PA, and I had to cut through pleasantries to let him know his daughter just committed a federal crime, opened up mail addressed to me, and stole part of its contents. The man is a former cop. His tone grows low and defeated, and he tells me he'll talk to her. I apologize for dragging him into this, and promise to catch up later. While waiting for her to call me back, I filled out the police report, but didn't submit it. She calls, and in typical fashion, starts playing the victim. God, if you're going to make such a big deal over your stupid precious fucking video game, I guess I'll send it to you. Nah, you are not going to make me the bad guy for being upset over you opening my mail and stealing from me. Not happening. Fine, I'll send it to you, only if you apologize for inconveniencing me. I go full, my father, mode and yelled. Get fucked. You either send it to me, or I press send on this police report. She panicked and relented. So, was dragging her father in and going nuclear the wrong thing? Could I have handled this better? I'm sure, though I'm holding back a lot of emotions here. Did I get threatening too quick? Thanks if you made it through this disaster, hopefully it was worth your time. Edit, thank you all for your support and input. To address some common concerns. Yes, I deleted the Amazon address data. The external site I went through defaulted to that old address for some reason, never has it done that before. I offered to pay postage, as we live very far away now, PA and Maine, but she wanted $30 for the return, which wasn't happening. Upon retrospection, going straight to the authorities would still have gotten her father involved, since she lives with him and he basically handles all her adult responsibilities. Therefore, the AITA is more or less, should I submit a police report, or let it be? Which one would make me TA? I'm sorry I type like I'm writing a book report, it's a habit. I promise I'm not Patrick Bateman. Don't be mean to me on that account. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. NTA honestly sometimes the only thing you can do to check an adult is to get their parents involved. I think you handled this about as best you could given the situation. You did her a favor by not actually reporting the crimes. Reply. I felt likewise. Believe it or not, I was more concerned for her dad's reputation. It wouldn't look good if a former cop's daughter was caught in a federal crime and theft, and admitted to it, huh? Still have the texts and voicemail, and how old they are. I'm 35, she's 30. We were happily married for 3 years, then once we moved to Maine, it's like my wife died, and was replaced with some unholy demon. Imagine all of your worst qualities, the met to the ignorable ones, all being dialed up to 11 overnight. That's what happened to her. I have a theory about it, but I don't want to get too personal. And why the marriage failed. Yup, this is tame by her standards too. What had me break it off was her drinking, physical abuse, and complete neglect, as I found her fabricating stories about me to her friends or family to make me look like a monster. So I picked up everything I could and moved back to PA. Update. Hey folks. I figured I'd update you all on the conclusion to that stupid saga from before. I did indeed get my property back, and the ex became cooperative and very strangely submissive, rather than spiteful. I'm willing to bet it was because of her father, but then again, I'm not 100% sure. Maybe, buried under all that untreated BPD and narcissism, is the girl I thought I married. Though I won't hold my breath, haha. This, and a previous issue we ran into right before the mail fraud, kinda soured me on trying to keep things amicable, since clearly it has no real effect. The game was still in its factory sealed wrapping, with no signs of tampering. I opened it up, and everything looks to be in great shape. I contacted the father and gave him my sincere thanks. On the suggestion of some of you from last post, I sent him a gift for doing the right thing and putting up with this squabble, so thank you for that suggestion. I have his PayPal still, so it was just cash, but the message went through I'm sure. Do good things, get rewarded. In any case, I thought I'd treat you all to some picturonies of the end results for stopping by, so here you go. Thanks for the help and perspective from last post. Stories number 16. AITA for ranting via email to my dad about his wife not being my angel or savior. My mom died when I, 18M, was a kid. My dad remarried 3 years after her death. He was weird about his wife, Beth always. He'd call her our angel and savior. He talked about her like we both fell in love with her and both chose her. Before they had kids together he called her the best mom he ever knew and the best wife. I never called this woman my mom or even my stepmom. The whole thing bugged me so Beth never left being Dad's wife in my brain. She loved hearing Dad say it and she always had this negative energy when I didn't say those things too. There were times Beth tried to force hugs on me when I had stayed silent about what Dad was saying or if I expressed anything against the use of our. She forced hugs on me in general too. But it was worse when I didn't agree with my dad. My dad never noticed. He was so cocky talking for the two of us that he never even realized I didn't speak up to agree. Or I never said those things. Beth did try to be those things and she really tried hard to earn the mom title from me. She told me that she would never stop, ever. That she knew she could make me love her and wear me down eventually. I don't think she was evil about it or even trying to be malicious. I think in her way she thought she was being extra kind and loving. But I hated it. The one time she really annoyed me by saying it I told her she would never be as good as my mom in my eyes so she should stop trying. She never told Dad but she was upset and I never apologized. I just stayed mad that she kept trying. Anyway, back to my point. My dad talked to me before graduation about what I'd say about Beth and he told me he had written something that he'd like me to say. I told him I knew what I'd say and I didn't need anyone's help. Dad was like, cool. And his response made me think even then that he expected me to gush about Beth. But I didn't mention her at all. Instead, after briefly thanking Dad, I gushed about Mom and I talked about my love for her and the amazing mom she had been. Everyone but my dad and Beth were like, oh she'd be so proud and that's lovely. My dad was pissed and Beth looked like she was trying not to sob from heartbreak. She actually did break down and leave for an hour and came back to talk of mom, which made her quiet the rest of the party. Afterward my dad left me like 20 voice messages about my lack of praising Beth and how she deserved way better, and why did I tell him I had my thanks for her written already. I never said that. Never. That was how he took what I said. But I didn't want to call dad and be accused of being cruel to Beth for saying the things I knew I would where she could hear. So I ranted via email about how Beth's not my angel or savior and how that was all dad's BS and that I never ever loved or chose Beth. I said she didn't better my life. She wasn't better than my mom. That I would choose being alone over Beth. I then told dad he never had any right to speak for me like that and fuck him for that too. And I told him his words about her being the best mom ever before she even was one felt like he was shitting on mom. I must have wrote like 4,000 words before I finished. My dad wasn't the only person to read it. Beth saw and read it too. This enraged dad and he demanded I apologize to Beth and make it up to her. But I haven't and I don't see it happening either. My dad realizes this too because he asked when I became such a B** star and that I wasn't raised to be an asshole. I feel like maybe I am an AH for how I have refused to accept Beth and because I didn't even thank her at my graduation. I'm not sure I care really. But I want to hear the judgment of people who don't know us and just see the situation here. Of course I can't write everything from the time I met her to now because that'd take forever. But I hope this is enough info to decide. Stories number 17. My 30M, GF, 32F, of 6 months has changed her behavior recently and I want to leave. So I met her earlier this year. We were fast friends within a month of meeting and dating after a month, official for 6 months or so. Met her on a night out with some friends. We live separately but she spends a lot of time at my house as it's nearer to where she works. Our relationship started really nicely. I felt like we just got on really well and she was very supportive of me as well. But recently she's been quite pushy about me making changes to my lifestyle and seems angry and disappointed with the results. The two big ones are my work and what I wear. As for my work, I work at the same store I've worked at since I was 16, it's just an easy job, pays my bills and I know how to do everything there. I'm basically a manager without the responsibility of actually being a manager as I don't want that level of responsibility for no extra pay. I also make money via stocks and cryptocurrencies so I don't struggle for money. As for what I like to wear, I have many jumpers and t-shirts of an emo band my friends and I loved when we were young. I genuinely have like 50 or so that I wear a lot because it makes me happy, and doesn't hurt anyone either. I admit I have a bit of a problem with anxiety, familiarity helps me with it. Some family thinks I might have OCD but I've never been diagnosed. My girlfriend a few weeks ago expressed frustration with my clothes, saying I need to grow up and get new ones. She spends a lot of money to get whatever clothes are in fashion. I don't have a problem with that as it's her money to spend and she isn't hurting anyone. But I don't know why she has a problem with my clothes. The argument was big but resolved and we went shopping and bought me some new clothes. They are actually quite nice and I like wearing them too. A few days later I was wearing a band t-shirt again because the new clothes were in the wash and she was really angry about it. I explained the new clothes were in the wash and it wasn't decided that I'd completely stop wearing the band stuff. She wouldn't talk to me for the rest of the day. The next day she had cooled off and explained that she thinks new clothes will help me grow as a person. We talked a long time and I eventually agreed to get rid of the band clothes. While I was packing them up I started crying and she called me stupid and I asked her to leave. She came back a few hours later and we made up. I packed the boxes into my car and told her I was going to donate them. She was really pleased and said I was making the right choice getting rid of them. I didn't donate them, I took them to work and I'm keeping them there until further notice. My boss was confused but understanding. I got back home and she ordered my lots of new clothes. She told me she understands it was upsetting but I'd be better off for it. That night a few hours later she wanted to talk about my work and why I'm not a manager. I explained to her that I don't want to be. She's been distant and only talks about how I should ask to be a manager. I've explained why I don't want to be, and that I wouldn't even be paid more, nor is there a need for it at the store. She just keeps saying that I need to fight for a pay rise as well so I can treat us to nice things. I told her that isn't how it works and that I make money in other ways and that she has her own money too so it shouldn't matter. She shouted at me that I'm useless and stormed out. My boss also told me she called the store and asked him why I'm not a manager. After being upset and feeling useless for a few hours I decided that I don't want to be with her. I realized I don't see my friends as much as I used to because she likes to spend all our free time just us. I just don't feel happy with her anymore and feel like she actually acted differently when we started out just to get close to me. She even said she loved all the band stuff when I first showed her. I think she may be right that new clothes might help me a bit. I genuinely appreciate that and like how I look in some of the clothes we bought. But I also liked how I looked in the band stuff, and still think it wasn't over the top. I'd normally just wear jeans and a t-shirt or jumper anyway. I don't think it's as ridiculous as she said it was. I just thought of it as a wearable collection. People collect weirder things. As well as this, I really don't like that I lied to her about donating the band stuff. It felt horrible and dishonest. My boss and colleagues could tell something was off when I took the boxes into work. I try to be honest as I don't want to upset people. TLDR, my GF of 6 months has become controlling and angry at me and made me get rid of some clothes that are special to me, is also trying to get me to become a manager at my work, even called my boss to ask about it. I've decided I want to leave her, but I'm scared to because she can be manipulative and angry. Anyway, I want to break up with her, but I know it's gonna be difficult. She's good at talking me into stuff, but my mind is made up 100% on this. I'm still not sure when or how to do it though. I'm feeling really anxious about it. Wondering if you guys can give me some advice or help. How can I be assertive about wanting to break up and not have her talk me out of it? Relevant comments. Commenter 1. Do it. She seems controlling. Like, why ask someone to do these things 6 months after dating? These are red flags. Let her go. Go back to work and get your shit back. Reply. I do actually want to tell her about the clothes, partly so I can get them properly back, and partly that it might help make the breakup happen. Especially now with these outside opinions. Commenter 2. I think your response to all of this was completely reasonable. You opened yourself up to her suggestions and to trying new things, and you kept your boundaries about not wanting to enter a management position at your store. I think you have a healthy viewpoint on yourself, your life, and what makes you happy. The fact that she called your work to complain without telling you is a major red flag. When you end things, I would just suggest that you stay focused on the fact that you were willing to change and try new things, while she was hardline and disrespectful of your choices. Someone who really cares about you would behave more like you did, seeking compromise. It is going to be uncomfortable, but you can do it. If she becomes angry, ask her to leave or leave the situation yourself, but don't waver on the fact that the relationship is over. I would strongly suggest going no contact after the breakup, so that she cannot manipulate you out of your decision. Reply. Thanks for your advice and your compliments, I really appreciate both. I know she's had several red flags and I am decided that I want to break up with her. I'm more worried about what she'll say or do to people around us and if how I can stop that. No contact is seeming likely. I miss making my own choices about stuff and seeing my friends. Update. Some things I want to address first. I work at the same place I have done for years because of my anxiety. I know how to do everything at my job and it helps me feel grounded and not worry. When I said I'm basically a manager, I mean that I do sometimes fill in shifts and responsibilities for them, and we have talked about me officially being manager before, but it's not what I want. I don't want to take my work home with me and never be able to switch off like I see some of them do. That said, I do want to have some more ambition in my life going forward, and I am going to be looking at other ventures. My band clothes are now back at my house. I still have the new clothes we bought as I paid for a lot of them and I plan to continue wearing them too. I can see what she meant by wanting me to wear new clothes, I just didn't like her end goal or the way she went about it. For the people thinking I dress like those goth people dancing under a bridge, I don't. It's usually just a band tee jumper with some normal jeans. I'm not a teenager, just a 30 years old who still loves the same band, haha. No hate to those dancing goths, I love that meme. Okay, so on to the main story. I took advice from some of the responses to the OP. We lived separately so there wasn't any issues with leases, but I did change my lock as I had given her a key a few months ago. As for the breakup, it didn't go well, but it did go at least. I was at home thinking of how to do it, which cafe restaurant I was gonna do it in, etc. She finished work and came to mine without any prior discussion, not out of the ordinary to be fair. Anyway, she could tell something was off, and because I'd been thinking about it all for hours I was 150% sure I wanted to do it, so just did it here instead. I first told her that I had lied about donating my clothes and that I'd actually taken them to work instead. She was angry and calling me a liar and everything. I apologized for it, and tried to explain that I felt a lot of unfair pressure to get rid of them when I didn't really want to and my collection wasn't hurting anyone. I don't really feel that the argument was fair, and I feel that her actions made me lie to her, but I hate saying stuff like that, so I just left it and moved on. I then told her I was really annoyed about her calling my boss. She said she was sorry but I should be a manager. I said that's okay and she looked confused but accepted it, I guess. Then I just said I didn't want to be with her anymore because she actually had given me a second to speak. She looked shocked and asked me what I meant. I just said I didn't want to be with her anymore, and that I wanted her to leave and would be changing my locks but was open to calling to messaging about picking up her stuff. She said stuff like we don't have to break up, but I kept saying my mind is made up and technically we already had. She called me pathetic as she walked out the door and slammed it behind her. This was the other day, I haven't heard from her but I sent her a message about picking up her stuff. There isn't much of it here so maybe she doesn't want to. Anyway, since then, I called my boss to explain that situation and be wary of any contact from her. We've worked together for years and we're good friends so he was very understanding and said if I need help in any way he'll try to provide it. We go for drinks often with other colleagues so I'll explain it all to them there probably. As for me, like I said above, I do want to work on myself a bit, partly because of the things she said, but not for the same reasons, just for me to grow a bit in terms of work experience and fashion sense. I'll be buying more smart casual clothes to wear as well. I don't think I'll ever fully stop wearing the band clothes though ha 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 ha. I don't quite know what I want to do in terms of work, but I have the experience of teamwork and leadership from the store which I think is usable and transferable to other jobs too. I'm feeling weird, but okay, it feels great to have acted decisively. I haven't felt sad yet, not happy either, just relieved mostly. Some of her stuff is still here and it feels weird to see it knowing it'll never be that way again. I don't know how to describe that feeling. Anyway, I've spoken to friends about it and will be seeing them soon. What she's been up to or what she'll do, not sure if I want to, there's nothing left for me with her anyway. Just wanted to thank everyone for their kind words in the OP, it felt really good to know I wasn't being treated fairly and I wasn't just being stupid like she said. Some even messaged me with similar stuff or how much they liked their partners with similar habits to my band clothes which was really nice. One of the reasons I still wear the band tees is sometimes other fans spot them and we'll have a nice conversation about it and always end the conversation smiling haha, it's just nice. TLDRGF came to my house and it took an hour or so but I broke up with her and she left. Locks have been changed and clothes returned, things are weird but definitely better. I'll be working on myself but doing it purely for me not for her or anyone else. Thanks again for kind words and advice everyone, hope you enjoyed the story. Top comments. Commenter 1. Not everyone wants to move up in their career. That's okay. If you can make what you need, then that's fine. Not everyone is cut out to be a manager. Do what you want. I'm glad you're rid of your girlfriend. She was toxic and so negative. She wanted to change you to her vision of what you should be, not what you actually want. ETA thanks for the awards. Commenter 2. They couldn't pay me enough to manage. I have reached the point in my career that there's no more title jump for me, just pay increases. I'm okay with that. I suck at managing people. I make a great lead and I stick with that. Stories number 18. Aita for letting my husband deal with his own parents since he doesn't set any boundaries. My 31F husband's 33M parents are driving me crazy, and I really need some advice. We've been together for 10 years, married for 2.5. His parents have always been more involved in our lives than mine. Before we got married, they bought a house with my husband, just the three of them. I wasn't involved in that decision at all. It hurt, because I had always imagined that our first home would be something we chose together. The house is 5 minutes from their place, which is convenient, but also comes with a lot of strings attached. I'm very independent, and my parents have always respected that. They don't have a key to our house, they ask before visiting, and they never weigh in on things like how we decorate or what we do in our space. In contrast, my in-laws do have a key, and there are basically no boundaries. We've come home from trips to find things moved around and dishes put away, which some might find helpful, but I find invasive. It's caused arguments between me and my husband because I don't like people in my space when I'm not home, even if they're family. One time, my sister-in-law was visiting and while we were chatting, their parents and cousin just walked in unannounced. I was so upset I excused myself and went upstairs. My husband thinks this kind of thing is normal, but I really don't. To him, it's just how his family is, but for me, it feels like a total lack of respect for our privacy. There's also the cat situation. Before I moved in with him, I lived with my parents and had a cat I was very close to. When I brought her to live with us, my mother-in-law told my husband we couldn't have cats because she was allergic. So I had to give her back to my parents. Later, at a dinner, she straight up said, "Oh, I'm not allergic." So now I don't know who lied, her or my husband. That incident also made my own parents question me, which was humiliating. After I started working from home, I got really lonely and told my husband I wanted a cat again. He agreed, but said we couldn't tell his parents. That was almost a year ago. I've asked him several times to have the conversation, and he keeps putting it off. I even offered to do it myself, but he won't let me. Then last weekend, we made plans to go to IKEA and grab coffee, and in the middle of it, his mom called to say they bought a new piece of equipment for the house and were coming over to install it, uninvited. My husband offered to do it himself, but they said no and insisted on coming. He actually asked me to take the cat out of the house to hide him. I refused. I told him I'm done hiding this. We live here. If I wanted to store a giant inflatable dildo in the spare room, I could, because it's our house. We decide what's here and who sees it. I told him it's time to set boundaries. He says his parents won't listen to him, and that I need to say something. But when it came to my parents, I had those conversations myself. I never asked him to be the bad guy, because they're my family, so we ended up going home so he could pick them up. Thankfully the cat was quiet and they didn't notice. But this whole thing is exhausting. I told him this isn't just about the cat, it's about everything that comes with it. So now I'm asking, am I the asshole for expecting my husband to be the one to talk to his parents? Should I step in? I feel bad, but it's been almost 3 years of me not feeling comfortable in my own home. I'm tired of living like someone might show up at any moment. Something needs to change. Stories number 19. Finally meeting my 29M online girlfriend 29F. After years of talking, it's not going well. A couple years ago I, 29M, met a girl, 29F, through an online circle. We talked frequently and it was always a great time. She's very passionate about a lot of the same things I am and is very career driven, which is something I'm looking for. Early last year she opened up about having feelings for me, which I was receptive to. We started spending more time online together and eventually it got to a point where she would be telling her coworkers and family members about her boyfriend. This didn't bother me too much, I'm very interested, but for me I had to meet her to seal that deal. Fast forward to Christmas and my gift to her was going to be a trip up to meet her, USA to Canada. Trip was very expensive but worth it. We had talked about me going to meet her a few times, thought it was better that way as she has a lot of anxiety, very important for later, and health issues that would make it much harder for her, ESP in this current political climate. Well, that trip happened this weekend. I'm currently typing this out from my hotel room, which I've spent the vast majority of my time here alone in. DR, met a girl online, developed feelings, great match for each other, she lives in Canada and me, the US. For Christmas I set up a trip to come see her. She has terrible anxiety issues. The main issue, the trip to see her started off how I expected. I don't know this city at all, it's a country I've only been to a few times, and I was nervous myself. Took a 40-minute Uber to my hotel and expected by the time I got there that she would have worked out her nerves and be ready to meet me. Unfortunately her anxiety was extra bad and it took her another 2 hours to work up the courage to drive 5 minutes to come see me. This didn't bother me at the time, I knew it'd be rough and I'm a patient dude, for the most part. We met, she was shaking and bawling her eyes out, but overall it was great, some hugs and we drove to her place. She lives with her brother so I was able to meet him and we chilled out for a little while. Her anxiety was still through the roof though, so we didn't actually do much for the next couple of hours. She wanted to drive around and show me some stuff but couldn't. Eventually she decided I should probably Uber back instead of her driving me. Next morning I was up extra early, she usually works nights so I figured she wouldn't be up for a bit. Not knowing the city I chose to stay in and wait till she was awake. 4 hours later she messages me, we talk for a bit and she tells me she's not quite ready to see me as the nerves are still there. That's fine, I found a drugstore in walking distance I can pick some stuff up at and get us some food at a local spot before meeting up. Fast forward about 2 hours later and I finally get back to her place. She doesn't eat anything and tells me her brother, her, and myself are going to go to a get-together and hang out with a bunch of their friends. That's cool, I ask her how long we'll be there and she said a few hours. We leave, it's about an hour drive. Every one of her friends were great, super welcoming and she seemed really happy to introduce me as her boyfriend. Little party lasts a good portion of the night, we don't talk much as I'm usually getting bounded by her friends or she's playing a game or something. It's around 10 when we go to leave, still plenty of night left I figured, she tends to be up till 3 or 4 in the morning so I was pretty pumped to get to spend the rest of the night together. However, as we get in the car she asks her brother if it's cool that she takes me to the hotel before they go home, he says yeah, and I just get to sit in shock the whole way back that she's too drained to spend a couple of hours of quality time with her boyfriend she just met. At this point it's all starting to catch up to me and I'm feeling pretty bad. I get back to the hotel room and I'm just confused by this whole trip. I'm alone, in a hotel room, in a country I don't know, with my girlfriend a few minutes away, not knowing what to do. What the hell is going on? I fear messaging her about it is going to make her anxiety worse, but at this point I don't know what to do. I'm set to meet her mom in the evening for dinner, and at this point I feel like I've met everyone except for my girlfriend. So I message her that. She's very apologetic, saying her anxiety is through the roof still and she wanted to make this trip worth it for me but she's just drained. She makes an effort to let me know she is still very interested in everything, but she knows if we're alone together that nothing would happen because she's just too nervous, she hasn't been in a relationship in a couple of years so it's hard for her. I tell her I don't even want to try anything intimate if that was her fear. I've barely hugged her this trip and there's a lot more steps in that process before anything like that could happen. I just want to spend some quality time together. She said tomorrow after I meet her mom there will probably be time. All that said, today is my last day here. I leave early tomorrow morning on a flight. I feel like this whole thing has been a waste and I'm still just confused. I wanted to spend quality time with her, not sit on a hotel room alone for most of my trip. In my mind she would want to be with me every waking moment of this trip. Our time is so short, we've talked about it for ages like that was going to be the case. I don't know if the relationship can last after this. TLDR, planned a trip to meet up with my online girlfriend. Trip finally happens but her major anxiety issues have made it so I'm spending most of my time alone in a hotel, in another country, instead of with her. Every time we go to hang out I'm just meeting someone new instead of spending quality time with her. I feel like I've met everyone here except for her. She still seems super invested in the relationship but I just feel confused and a little heartbroken. Update, finally meeting my 29M online girlfriend, 29F, after years of talking. It's not going well. Yesterday morning I woke up, made the original post and waited nervously for her to wake up. It once again took a couple of hours. A little after noon she finally messaged me. She said we had dinner in the later afternoon with her mother, and I could Uber over to her place whenever. A few of you suggested I should just call off the dinner plans but I decided to stick it through. I went up to her place shortly after that and we spent some time watching things. She was having a better day so we sat close and while we didn't do anything, brother was in the small house. It was some quality time I had been looking for. Dinner with her mother was great, we connected well and she seemed to be genuinely excited for me and her daughter. We left with a hug from her mom and went back to her place. It was a lot more of the same thing as before, so while it wasn't alone time with her, it did feel more on-one, and we had a good time. Was it exactly what I was expecting on the last day of this trip? Not really, but was it nice? Definitely. It was getting late and I was half expecting her to want me to Uber back but she drove me herself. She helped me confirm my packing for the flight early this morning, and we ended with a kiss. We got to texting a bit and we realized she hadn't taken a photo of us for a frame she had bought. I was pretty sad that we hadn't and the few pictures of us from that weekend didn't really fit the vibe she was going for. I mentioned that I should just Uber back. 10 minutes later waiting for a response and she tells me to come down. Anxiety be damned, she did drive back just for the photo and another goodbye smooch. So, overall, it wasn't the perfect weekend, but I'm going to stay cautiously optimistic. I think it was a mistake to not make the trip longer, and think that would have helped even more. We'll see how things go when she has to decide if she wants to make the solo trip down here for an event closer to this summer. To clear some things up, she is on medication and goes to a therapist, though her current therapist is very new to her. Normally I wouldn't be into a LDR but our likes and interests align well, and it's something I've struggled to find around me back home. My last relationship was decently long and taught me that was something I valued a lot. Thanks for all the comments on the other post. I imagine interest for another update will wane by the time the next trip happens, in about 2 months, but that is the time where things will really be make or break. TLDR, last day went decently well, her mother was lovely and I could tell she was trying to make a bit more of an effort. We are still planning to meet again for an event by me in the coming months, that'll be make or break. Update, finally meeting my 29M online girlfriend, 29F, after years of talking. It's not going well. A couple months ago I made a post about our first time meeting, it gained a lot of traction. Can read them here. The TLDR is we had been talking for years and then things got more serious. We both share the same interests so the relationship was very important to me, as it's something I value a lot. We had a fantastic time as a LDR but the first time meeting was rough. The first couple of days were so bad it prompted me to make the post. She has severe anxiety and was the root for most of the issues. However, the last day was much better and things were on the up and up. We planned another trip to a city closer to me in the States, where there would be an event we were both excited about. The last 2 months, things seemed to be going really well post first trip. She opened up a bit more about the meetup and was very apologetic about the whole thing. We spent the next couple of weeks in calls and video chatting, doing what we love together. Things were great, but something was missing. A piece of the relationship, something intimate and playful, seemed to have faded. This was her call. She decided that she should be less flirty and intercourse online, until she can express that the same in person. I respected that. I believed it just needed time, and I've always been committed to working through things together. Unfortunately, that's where things started to spiral. One thing about her is that she's very independent, and that often came across as distant, uncaring. There's some days where she chooses to not interact with me, ignore my messages, or get short when I try to be affectionate and caring. Usually this only happens when she's having a rough day, understandable. Unfortunately a week ago she was having one of those terrible weeks. In my head a relationship should be one of comfort, relief, but while I tried to help her through it she lashed out and started being distant. I tried to comfort her but it was met with a coldness I couldn't understand. I had to guess how she was feeling and was left in the dark a lot. I made the, in hindsight, wrong choice of opening up about how I didn't understand and how I just wanted to be someone she could lean on. About how it made me feel awful I couldn't support her. I felt shut out so often. This turned into a lot of messages about how we felt about relationships in general, and the changes ours would need to take. It focused on how we care about each other a lot, but she has her anxiety and independent healing she has to work on, and how I have to give her more space, and care less. The main villain, as was the culprit of the first meeting, was her anxiety. It's ruining her life in more ways than just our relationship. She's struggling everywhere. So her number one priority was to get in a better spot with that, then work on us. This was a great compromise, and I was excited for the next step in the relationship. I would continue to give her time and space, to wait for someone I think is a one-of-a-kind worth it, and she would get to the place where she believes that too about herself. And finally, now, I boarded the plane with a lot of hope. Things were good after a few days of us getting back on track. But as I landed, I got a short, heartbreaking message from her. She said she's not in a healthy enough spot to make this relationship work for either of us. That after some reflection, her problems are so bad that she needs to step away and work on them. She doesn't think she'd be able to handle the trip we planned, and would be ruining another critical point in our relationship. The part that hurts the most isn't the time I've given her, the financial, emotional, or physical pain. Or the fact this came out of the blue at the worst time. What hurts the most is it feels like she went from telling me how I was going to be her future, to her basically treating me like an acquaintance. The last few days have been so tough. We talked for a little while that first day, her entire focus of the conversation was that she needed to get better. She barely once talked about us, I got no closure. And now trying to talk to her feels like talking to someone I barely know. Despite her saying she wants us to stay close, one of the first things she told me when we started talking was how words meant everything to her, they're so important, they should always mean something. She kept saying how much she cared about us, yet her current actions make me feel the complete opposite. I see her online, hanging out with friends, posting online, like I never existed, like I was just a footnote in her life. I'm here now, I'm going to try to make the best of the trip. But being alone again hurts so much. I don't understand. Some days the distance felt like nothing, and other days she made the miles so much longer. I really tried so hard, I'm exhausted. I'm getting older, feeling the pressure of finding my person really setting in. I don't want to settle, but I feel like I'm going to have to. I want more than anything to just make things right with her, to go back to that week and just give her the space she wanted, so we'd be on this trip together right now. I mentioned above that she's very independent, and her anxiety is taking that away from her. She can't do the things she wants with the people she wants, and I understand that. But what about us? I'm devastated. I know a lot of you saw this coming and the rest of you all wanted to see this work. How do I move on? I know there's probably no saving this, but I wish there was. What can I do? And how do I find anyone like her again? TLDR. Planned another meetup with my LDR girlfriend. The first one was rough, but this one felt like it was going to be great. We had a rough week and talked a lot about our relationship. However, the day I traveled in, she broke up with me, citing her anxiety as the culprit. I'm not sure what to do now. Important edit here. I've tried local for a few years, I've never had trouble getting dates or matches on apps locally. But I live in a small, rural town, and haven't found anyone that aligns with my values and interests. From my experience over years of doing this is that dating locally will be settling. Which is why I tried online. There's a bigger city about an hour and a half, 2 hours away. Maybe I'll look there, but the relationship will still be long distance. Stories number 20. Aita for saying if my wife wants to be a trad wife then she must always look her best, wait on me, and provide intercourse without question when asked. I'm 35 and my wife is 40. We've been together 15 years. The last couple of years she's really fell down the trad wife black hole and it's driving me crazy. At first it started off with her saying she doesn't want to work anymore, and lately it has escalated to saying men who make their wives work are abusive. We both have well-paid jobs. I'm a self-employed builder with a team and earn around £100,000 a year. She works in management for the NHS and earns around £50,000 a year. We both work, I guess I should say worked for her, really hard and have no kids, and 3 years ago managed to pay our mortgage off and lived in a nice enough area where I would have happily stayed forever. She however suddenly wanted a massive house that we didn't need. I should have saw what was coming. She was looking at £700,000 houses which would require a mortgage of £500,000 after we sold our house. I gave in and we bought a house. She then wanted a new car which again I caved to, and she got a car that is worth more than she earns a year. She then decided she didn't want to work anymore. She said her job was crap and I said take a lower paid one then that you'll enjoy more. She said no. She just doesn't want to work full stop. She also doesn't want to give up anything she has. Over the past couple of years it has been obvious she is trying to lose her job without leaving, despite me saying that I can't afford the house and car and holidays on my own. She started bringing this trad wife crap up but said she'd want to hire a cleaner as the house is too big for her to clean alone and she prefers my cooking to hers, so I'll still do all the cooking. So I said you basically want to dress up pretty and bake the odd cake. She stormed off and said I don't get it. She again brought it up yesterday and I said fine, she can do it, but she's got to get up before me and make sure my breakfast is ready like in the video she watches. She's got to be dressed as a sexy version of a 50s housewife like in the video she watches from the moment I open my eyes to the moment I close them. The house must be spotless at all times like in the videos she watches. I want huge packed lunches for work like in the videos she watches. I want to come home and have beautiful pies and cakes ready for pudding like in the videos she watches. I want a bath ran for when I get in and then come down to a proper meal every night like in the videos she watches. I then want a foot rub while I eat the cakes and pies she makes like in the videos she watches. I also want intercourse on demand, how I want it when I want it, like in the videos she watches. She called me abusive, a user, sexist etc. and stormed out to her equally delusional sister's house. Don't get me started on her. I'll be honest, I'm ready for divorce if this carries on. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, get the divorce, mate. It'll be cheaper and less stressful than dealing with a crazy wife every minute of the day and night. It's not about the tradwife lifestyle, she simply doesn't want to work. She merely wants to sit on her backside, enjoy the things she has badgered you into paying for, and do nothing. There is a lot of this kind of crazy going around. It won't get any better either. What will it be next? Vacations on the French Riviera? A bigger, nicer, more expensive car? The list goes on and on. Reply, I am leaning this way, mate. I think a divorce is more likely than anything else at this moment in time. Luckily she's afraid of flying, so I've managed to avoid the expensive holidays apart from the odd Eurostar trip to Paris. She's makes me feel like a £10 millionaire though trying to be something we aren't. I know we are better off than most but we don't earn footballers' money, which is what I think she aspires to. Commenter 2, trad wife is a form of codependency. If that's what you are interested in living like, you do you. But consider what the next 15 years will look like. Take it from someone whose partner of 20 years is a dependent for heath reasons. It's not the life for everyone. Look inward at your motivations and what you want from the relationship and what you are willing to give up for it. NTA. Reply, I am leaning toward leaving. I didn't sign up for codependency. Commenter 3, you don't mention kids so I presume there are none. Leave her, mate, she's no god, or actually just tell her to figure it out on her own, I bet she comes crawling back pretty quick. Reply, we have no kids. I think I'm leaning toward divorce. Commenter 4, definitely not the AH. Could y'all go for marital counseling or some? Reply, I've asked, she is not interested in the slightest. Commenter 5, you were crazy to agree to the 700k house. You'll be okay, but it makes things so much tougher. If she wanted that, why not save up with the old house and then work up to the new one and both of you work together? Reply, that's what I suggested. With my job we could have bought a cheese house, done it up and made some money and then moved upwards slowly and stayed debt-free. I have modified our house a bit and it's probably worth £800,000 now, but it's still not a nice feeling having such a big mortgage and knowing she wants me to cover it alone. OOP on his wife needing to contribute to the relationship and they both could have an affordable lifestyle. Reply, I agree with you completely. I have no problem with it if it's an affordable lifestyle. If we stayed at our old house I could afford it. Now we have a £2,500 a month mortgage and £700 car payments. That's £32k a year straight away. I think she wants to be a sugar baby but I don't want to be a sugar daddy. I want an equal partner. Update. No, my requests were not serious and I can't believe how many people thought they were. It was me trying to prove a point of how ridiculous she is being. Like I said in the comments, I don't want a maid or a slave, I want a partner. Before my wife got on this train she was a very ambitious, career-driven person who wanted to climb to the top. She was never really on social media until the pandemic. The trad wife thing started a couple of years ago. A lot of people suggested couples counseling. I've asked many times and always get the same response, I don't need counseling, there's nothing wrong with me. On to the update. We spoke Saturday morning and I told her that I can't go on like this. I said to her bluntly the trad wife thing is never happening and she either accepts it and we go to couples counseling or we split up. I'm don't dancing around her bullshit. She chose to split up. I asked her if she even really wanted to be a trad wife or if she's just trying to force me away, like she's trying to force her job to sack her because she doesn't have the balls to quit herself. She said yes she does and there's plenty of dating sites that cater to this dynamic. I told her I'd seen them and they are more sugar daddy dynamics and without being horrible she's too old for that. This set her off. She said I'm wrong and that I'm the one who can't support my wife so I'm the bad one in the marriage and a real man would be able to give her the life she wants. She was shouting and screaming this at the top of her lungs. It's about the only time I've been glad to be in our new house so the neighbors didn't hear. I got a bit petty at the real man comment and said, you can't cook, you can't clean and you don't have intercourse, what part of being a trad wife do you offer? I then stole a comment from my last post and said she doesn't want to be a trad wife, she wants to be a trophy wife. She just said I'm unbelievable and has gone to her sisters again. I'm going to take the next couple of weeks and start talking to a divorce lawyer to see what this entails. Then once this ball has got rolling I'm fucking off to Portugal for a couple of weeks to myself. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, marriage is a partnership, not a service package. Good luck with your journey towards finding a true equal. Reply, agreed, I want a partnership not a business arrangement. Commenter 2, yeah, you two are just not compatible. Good luck with your journey towards finding your other half, who will actually discuss things with you instead of name-calling and gaslighting. Reply, agreed, it's heartbreaking. I miss the woman my wife was so much. She was an inspiration to me. Was there something that triggered the change in OOP's wife? Reply, the pandemic when she started spending all day on social media and then seeing her niece make $500,000 a year from OnlyFans. It turned her bitter. OOP explains on what will happen in the divorce and who gets what. Reply, everything will be split 50-50 as per UK law. Commenter 3, so she doesn't want to have a job, meaning the household income drops by 50k. But she also wants bigger, better expenses and hired help, on just your income. This is like, have her checked for a brain tumor, levels of stupidity on her part. You need to get out before she bankrupts you. Reply, yep, with the new house and car she's dropped £550,000 debt on us then announced she doesn't plan on working anymore so it's all on me. When I said okay but we'll have to downsize and sell the car she said no. She wants all of it plus help plus no working. OOP describes his wife's personality before the pandemic. Reply, she was loving, funny, sweet, kind, fun, ambitious, work hard play hard woman, she was daring and confident. The pandemic came, she spent all day watching videos on her phone and just became really bitter with life and people. She used to be very attractive but, I feel awful saying this, she's had a lot of lip fillers, Botox, fake boobs and she's lost a lot of her looks. I look at photos of her from 4 to 5 years ago and she was glowing with happy eyes and a beautiful smile. Now it's all gone. I look at her twin sister, who she calls old looking, and I think she looks so fresh. Has OOP asked for anything from his wife? Reply, I didn't ask anything. She asked for more. She wanted a bigger house and a nicer car. She's the one who wanted to stop having intercourse and said if she ever wanted any physical contact she'd initiate and I'm not allowed to. She's the one who asked for everything. I never asked for anything. OOP on the alimony in his area. Reply, we don't have that here. Commenter 4, so this is her midlife crisis. Neat. Fun fact, a lot of women who are in perimenopause, her age, go through this. That doesn't excuse it and you definitely need couples therapy even if you do wind up divorcing. Reply, she got tested about 6 months ago. All hormone levels are fine. Stories number 21. Aita for telling my dad his whole family is dead to me after what they did to my mom. Burner account BC I'm paranoid, I, 22F, have always been more attached to my mom, 45F, than to my dad, 56M, after my teenage years, me and my mom became best friends who tell each other everything. A bit more context, my mom is a stay-at-home mom and has no career, BC my dad forced her to leave uni when she got pregnant with me, so she fully depends on him and whatever little I give her off my own salary. No one in my dad's side liked my mom at first, and when she got pregnant with me, everyone in that damn family tried to convince my dad to leave her BC she'd only bring trouble or whatever lame excuse they came up with. As you can guess he didn't listen and that's why we're here 22 years. To make a very long story short, my mom tried to set a boundary after my uncle invited us to his kid's birthday party but seated me, my mom and my brother on a far table while the rest of the family got to sit at this large table. My mom just sent a message saying she deeply respected and loved them but she couldn't ignore the blatant disrespect, and it became a big thing where my uncle and aunt, from my dad's side, insulted her, spun their own narrative to anyone who would listen and ostracized her from their side. They said some vile things, like how my mom was dramatic and attention-seeking and she was a gold digger since her mom is poor and is an immigrant, really disgusting things. My dad has tried to keep the peace by forcing all of us to attend family lunches. I may be 22 but I will not let my mom go alone to this awful lunches, so therefore I'm forced to go too. After seeing my mom cry again for feeling guilty at causing so much trouble, I confronted my dad yesterday. And after he tried to defend his side of the family I got all in his face and yelled that his whole side of the family is dead to me and I never want to see their faces again, that he's an awful husband for not siding with his own freaking wife, and if he continues to force us to attend more family functions I will go no contact with him. He hasn't spoken to me since, and my mom thinks I may have overreacted a bit, but I think it's very justified. I'm writing this while blocking and making sure none of his family members can contact me again, but I'm starting to feel bad about yelling to my dad, so I need a fresh perspective on this tbh. Stories number 22. Aita for refusing to marry my girlfriend. I, 22M, have been dating Emily, 19F, for maybe around a year and a half. We met because he was my younger brother's friend and somehow we ended up getting pretty close. She's this sweet and pretty girl with a heart of gold. Genuinely nothing can describe how beautiful she is. Sweetest thing ever, I'm telling you. Recently, I have graduated college and got a job, so I decided to get my own place. My girlfriend immediately suggested to move in with me since my place is closer to her campus too. I was fine with it but her parents weren't. Her parents immediately got mad and insisted I was destroying her innocence, which is really confusing to me because she had a whole pregnancy scare with her ex when she was 15. I think us moving in is really mild in comparison. Besides that, it is really just for convenience. Her house is at least a 2-hour drive away from her place and the dorms are just really gross. My girlfriend is a little bit of a germaphobe and thinks sharing the showers with so many other people is icky, and I totally get her. Emily is obviously upset and is trying to get her parents to let her move in but they're unwilling to budge. In the end they came to the conclusion that the only way they'll let her stay with me is if we get married to avoid having a B***** child. I was a little appalled by this as I have always been very insistent on using protection, even more than Emily at times. I get where they're coming from but I still feel like this is a little crazy. After that, I thought Emily would just stay in the dorms or rent a place with a few friends. Instead, I receive a text from her a few days later while I'm at work asking when we're getting married. I was gobsmacked. Although I am pretty sure Emily is the love of my life, she's still 19 and that's pretty damn young. I don't want to marry her when she's still so young and probably riding off emotions. Especially because there have been instances where she has done stuff just to piss her parents off. This definitely feels like one of them. I immediately tell her how I felt and asked her if we could talk about it instead of basically eloping. She immediately got defensive and started talking about how much she loved me and how she wanted me to see her POV. I was dumbfounded, to be honest. After I refused a few more times she just got mad and became really cold. I thought it would just be a usual argument but she actually got her friend to text me and tell me how I was such a big douche for not wanting to marry her. Besides the fact that we're so young, we haven't been dating for very long too. I don't think a year is good enough for marriage unless you're really sure. She's still in college too. All of this is making me really icky towards marrying her. I really love her and stuff but it's definitely too soon. I am not sure what to do anymore. I feel lost and weird about this whole situation. I don't want to lose Emily too. She's genuinely so special to me. By the way, some context that I forgot to put in initially. Everyone in her family marries really young. She's the youngest of 5 and all her siblings got married around the age of 18 to 22. It's just expected for them already. Emily has always been kind of a late bloomer, to say, since she broke up with her ex, unlike her siblings who all married their high school sweethearts. Them marrying young definitely has to do with their parents because I used to be in the same class as her older brother and he was stressing all of senior year. All because his girlfriend wanted to break up and he was afraid he wouldn't be able to marry young enough. It all feels really dystopian to me, lol, but to each their own. Let me set some things straight first. Somewhere deep in the comments I mentioned that Emily was infertile and a very nice person helped me realize Emily's parents saying something contradictory to that. Genuinely don't know how that happened but I talked to Emily is in fact not infertile. I am the dumbest person alive apparently because turns out she was talking about her friend who just found out she was infertile and I wasn't listening carefully so I thought she was just dropping that bomb on me all casually. At least she knows I won't judge her if she becomes infertile in the future. She seemed really chill about it when I told her so I didn't think she cared that much so I didn't either. Very dumb of me, I know. Next thing, I am starting to think me and Emily are terrible at communicating. She got her friend to text me because her phone died. I definitely exaggerated the contents of the text because I was pretty damn mad when I was writing it, lol. Don't worry, I am calmer now and I have checked that everything in this post is fact, not fiction. I talked to her on the marriage thing too, obviously. She admitted that she was really tired of her parents. Turns out, they've been trying to get her to break up with me and get back with her ex because he has better genes and will not ruin her genetics. I genuinely laughed in her face when I heard it. So no, we're not getting married and no, we're not breaking up. She will be staying in the dorms until she can move away from her parents more because they've really been having her on a death grip. They say if she chooses to stay with me she'll be out the will. I was honestly so mad I was about to find them and give them an earful. Emily has apologized repeatedly for the way she acted. For those of you who says she's going to baby trap me, she won't, rest assured. She's in college, she does not have time to be taking care of a baby. I can assure you, she loves me very much. We both have a common enemy and it's her parents. Both me and Emily are young and immature, we still have plenty of places to go and places to grow. A few bumps along the way won't deter us. Thank you for all the support, guys. I really appreciate the concern and everything. I didn't really want to follow up since me and Emily are fine now, and looking back that post just felt really immature, but quite a few asked for an update so I decided to just do it. Stories number 23. Are these really half-siblings of mine? The context I have believed to be true for my whole 25 years of life. I am an only child to two parents who have not had children with any other people. I myself have no children. On my dad's side, he has one brother who I know well and has never been married or had children. My paternal grandmother and grandfather only had my father and uncle as children. My mother has 4 older sisters. My maternal grandmother and grandfather had only the 5 daughters. From those 4 aunts of mine, I have 7 cousins. For 7 are not close to me due to distance and age differences. My mom is the youngest of 4, as I said, and she had me at 39. 2 of those distant cousins have young kids around 10 to 12 years old. These 8 DNA relatives all show potential half-sibling relationships. For the ones that have a birth year visible, they are all born 1 or 2 years after me. Given the percentages, to my understanding there are 3 possible relationships that share DNA percentages in that range: aunt, uncle and niece, nephew, grandparent and grandchild, and half-siblings. Since the first 2 are 100% not the case in my situation, what do these results mean? Maybe my father was a sperm donor around the year I was born. That seems weird to me. I asked my mom today and she said that to her knowledge he never did that. She could be lying, of course, perhaps wanting to talk to me about it in person or something. Any and all thoughts are appreciated. Image description: 8 half-sibling matches for OOP, 5 sisters and 3 brothers. All with percentages ranging from 23.1% to 29.2% match. Sum of comments. Commenter: is your dad's brother an identical twin? Who may also have been a sperm donor? Reply: he is not an identical twin, he's my dad's younger brother. Top commenter: never wanted to follow a 23 post so much. Reply: well, this is just the beginning. I'm hoping to get some more insight from my parents when I see them in person. Also reached out to one half-sibling I found on Instagram. Commenter: good luck. How do you feel about everything so far? Reply: at first I was just really confused, then after doing some research and realizing the only possible option for my relationship to these people truly is half-sibling, I just started to wonder about how that happened. I'm mostly just curious. If I end up finding out that my dad isn't my biological father, that's okay with me. He's my dad no matter what. I just hope that he wouldn't be ashamed or upset to finally come clean about that. Or if he donated sperm, that's no big deal either. I'm just curious and not highly emotional about any of the possibilities. Commenter: sperm donor certainly seems like the most likely possibility. Your dad or a grandpa? Is your dad available to take a test? Hopefully one of the matches will contact you and you can find out some more info. Reply: I could get him to take a test, yes. But I'm almost certain that if the answer is simple enough for him to explain with something he's withheld from me for whatever reason, he would just tell me. Commenter: did you tell your parents you were going to do a 23andMe test beforehand at all? I'm curious how they acted about you doing one, like if they knew you'd find something out or not. Oh, okay. No, they didn't know. I actually did this a couple years ago and never looked at the DNA relatives section. Just logged back in last night and explored everything, and that's when I found this. Mini update in comments. Just texted my mom after our initial phone call where she said she didn't know about any of that. I said, hey, you know, I'm just curious, right? If you or daddy do have an explanation for it, that's no big deal to me. Doesn't change anything in my mind. She responded, I believe I was correct in assuming I'll be finding out the truth once I'm with my parents in person. A few more of comments. Reply to a comment. Thanks. Given how much I look like my mom, I'm pretty sure this is a conception via sperm donor situation. I do really hope one of them accepts my invite and is willing to talk with me. A few others have mentioned that they probably have talked with each other by now. I was late to the game given that I did 23andMe a few years ago and never looked at the DNA relatives section until last night when I logged back in just to explore what was available to me on there. Commenter, I would say either your dad is a sperm donor or you were conceived through donated sperm. The fact your parents didn't have any other children might indicate the latter. This must be very confusing and a bit jarring, I'm sorry. Reply, just looked again at the half-siblings info, none of us share a maternal haplogroup, however the brothers all have the same paternal haplogroup. It's all checking out haha. Commenter, what if your dad really isn't your dad? Maybe mom had an affair with someone that has other kids. Reply, well, my dad is my dad. I will find out soon whether or not he's my biological father, but that doesn't change anything for me. Based on what I'm seeing here with the other siblings' profiles, all of us being conceived via a common sperm donor seems most likely. Update post. The update everyone's been waiting for. Sorry it's not more exciting, but it is true that I was conceived by a sperm donor who is not my dad. I've gotten into contact with 3 of the other half-siblings and it sounds like they've known this information for a lot longer than I have. I guess there's a Facebook group as well for all the half-siblings that I'll be joining soon. My parents told me they'll answer any questions I have and I told them I hope they don't feel bad about keeping this information from me my whole life. To me, it doesn't change a thing. My dad always has been and always will be my dad. It's kinda wild finding out something like this from 23andMe and then finding out the truth in such a public manner here on Reddit. But I'd like to say thank you so much to everyone for all the support and interest in my story. I never expected to get this kind of response and I want everyone to know that having this support did make it easier on me in some ways. If anyone else is going through something similar I'll be keeping this account for that purpose. Thank you again to everyone. If there are any more questions I'll do my best to get back to everybody here. Smiley face. Some of comments. Commenter, thanks for the update. Any idea if it is possible to determine who the donor is? I imagine that information is confidential with the sperm bank but wonder if any of the half-siblings who have known for a while have tried to narrow it down. I also understand you may not be interested at all who he is, and that's okay too. Reply, we have limited information as far as I know. Not his name but his heritage and interests, like a bio about himself. I'm sure I'll find out more once I join the Facebook group. Commenter, your mom lying and saying she didn't know anything about that, despite being confronted with evidence, is wild. I get if she didn't want to originally talk about it and kept it a secret, but doubling down is just awful, and I'd be really hurt to be lied to by my mother like that if I showed proof. Reply, that was over the phone and text. This was a conversation that came out of nowhere for her. Her gut reaction is to say what she's lived as her truth for the last 25 years. As soon as we talked more she opened up immediately. Editor's note, I liked this one because of how non-dramatic it was, but also because it's wild how ancestry testing has brought so many things like this to light. We didn't have the usual blow-ups or crazy cheating allegations. OOP was very measured and reasonable in her response. I wish the best for her and her family. Stories number 24. My coworker asked me to stop microwaving my lunch because it smells too real. I bring in leftovers pretty often, usually homemade stuff like curry, stir-fry, pasta, whatever. Nothing insane. Just real food. Last week, I heat up some leftover biryani and this coworker, let's call her Ashley, makes a face and literally says, "Ugh, could you not heat that up again? The smell is too real, too real." What does that even mean? I asked her to clarify and she said it's too textured and savory, and that it feels like someone is cooking, which is distracting in a workplace setting. Mind you, the break room is on the other side of the building from her desk. I'm not nuking fish or anything cursed. She then suggests I bring in more neutral lunches like protein bars or smoothie pouches. I laughed because I thought she was joking. She was not. Now she's been passive-aggressively spraying this lavender odor neutralizer spray in the break room every time I use the microwave, and it makes the whole room smell like soap and rice death. Is this normal? Like I get being sensitive to smells but telling someone their food smells too real just feels unhinged. Curious if anyone else has dealt with a coworker like this. Stories number 25. AIO for being furious that my husband was loud during my job interview, even though I left the apartment for his. My husband, 35M, and I, 33F, both had job interviews today. Mine was at 9 a.m., his was at 10 a.m. For the past week, he repeatedly asked me to leave our apartment during his interview so he could focus without distractions. I agreed, made plans to go for a walk, and fully intended to give him the quiet space he requested. When it came time for my interview at 9 a.m., I stayed in the bedroom, door closed, and started my call. About 10 minutes in, my husband started running his loud espresso machine and was talking very loudly in the kitchen, so loudly that I could hear him through the door. The noise was completely distracting and made it really difficult to hear my interviewer, who was already hard to hear on the call. I was frantically texting him to please be quiet, but he continued being noisy throughout my entire interview. Afterwards, I was furious. I couldn't believe that after making such a big deal about needing absolute quiet for his interview to the point where I needed to leave, but he couldn't even show me the basic respect of being quiet for mine. When I confronted him, he told me I was overreacting and that I should have just worn headphones. I'm upset because I feel like he expected me to prioritize his interview but didn't do the same for mine. At minimum, I expected the courtesy of him being quiet while I was interviewing. I'm worried that I missed something critical during the interview because I got distracted. AIO for being mad and feeling disrespected. Stories number 26. AITA for not having my little sister at my wedding because she accused my little brother of touching her inappropriately to her therapist just to get attention. I 23 female have a 16-year-old little sister who was adopted at an older age and came with a lot of trauma. Despite having been in therapy her whole life, it does not seem to be helping. She recently accused my 19-year-old biological little brother of touching her inappropriately, and she even told her therapist, so it became a bigger issue. She has a history of making up stories of every single person in the family to men online. She craves attention, good or bad. This is not the first incident where she accused someone in the family of abusing her and it was all a lie. Since the therapist got her to admit she was lying about my brother, nothing legally happened to my brother, but he is very traumatized from the situation. I felt awful for my whole family who lives with her and what they all went through. My parents were so sad about it, and my whole family cried together when they told me. I do not think my sister is sorry for what she did, since she has said nothing about it to anyone, and she has not apologized directly to my brother either, and my wedding is only weeks away now. I do not feel comfortable having her there. I just want the wedding to be a happy day where everyone there is comfortable, and loves and wants the best for the groom and I, and that no one will maliciously do something to destroy it. I feel she needs to rebuild trust with me and it will take time. AITA for not trusting her. Stories number 27. AIO for breaking up with my boyfriend for refusing to watch a movie with me. 38F here. Was dating a 42M for several months. We are both divorced with young kids. Our 4 children, from previous marriages, got along extremely well. His daughter in particular would say several times within earshot of me and her dad that she loved me and wished I were her stepmom. While we got along very well, I am easy to please and he is more stubborn. For instance, all food we are, activities we did, and scheduling for getting together were according to his preferences. I won't complain about that as I'm happy with whatever, and he had more firm preferences. Point stands, though, that he was in the driver's seat and we were both truly comfortable with that. One day, he was at my house, a rare occasion in itself. I mentioned a movie I loved and asked if he would watch it with me that evening. No, that sounds terrible. Oh, come on. We always watch what you want to watch. It's just a movie. And a really good one. I think you'd like it. No. I really don't want to watch it. Sometimes you do something you don't want to do because it will make your partner happy. No. I've never been forced to watch something I don't want to watch. That's weird. I was floored. It was one movie. One. Literally the second movie I asked he watch with me in our 8 months together. I couldn't help but think back to my marriage, the marriage wherein despite being miserable, I fought tooth and nail to save. Every single suggestion I had offered up to my ex-husband, things for me, things for him, things for both of us, was met with staunch rejection, and my request that he instead then come up with ideas of his own, ideas I would heartily agree to, no matter the idea, was similarly denied. I saw my boyfriend's behavior as a red flag and went upstairs to watch it on my own. He slept over, zero touch or conversation, and left in the middle of the night for work as planned. The next morning, I sent him a text message. Good morning. Can we please discuss tonight what happened last night? I think it's important you understand why I was so upset by what happened. He froze me out for 8 hours. This is something he does to punish me. Finally, a text response. No, I think you owe me an apology. Actually, I was shocked and told him that we were clearly on different pages regarding relationship fundamentals and asked to come over that evening to discuss it. 3 hours later, not tonight, not in the mood. The next day he was supposed to meet friends of mine for the first time. Are you still on for dinner with me and my friends tomorrow? No. A few days later, my kids and I were supposed to spend Easter weekend at his house with him and his kids. I'd gone all out to buy and put together a huge egg hunt for all 4 kids, and I created gorgeous gift baskets for each child. This took a lot of money, care, and effort. The kids and I were really excited. On one of those weekend days, he and his kids were supposed to join me and my kids at my parents' house for Easter dinner. My parents were going to meet his kids for the first time, and my aunt and uncle were meeting all of them for the first time. Everyone was going to so much effort to make this special for him and his kids. Are you still planning on doing Easter together? Not sure. I couldn't believe how cold he was being. If this is all it took to cancel plans, to refuse to talk to me, I should note that Easter was the first time I'd be able to see him that week, and then he was leaving on vacation around the world for 3 weeks, and to ruin Easter for our kids. Why would I continue in a relationship like this? Why was he so dismissive of me, the first woman he had insisted he introduced to his children after his divorce of 3 years? A woman his children adored. And my children adored him, so I drove to his house that night to return his house key. I'm done chasing, overreacting. No, ETA, for all those asking, the movie was Stepmom. It's buried in the comments. Stories number 28. My mother cares more about Disney World than her family, and now we're gonna lose the house next week. My mom has always been selfish, but in the past 5 years things have gotten bad. She says Disney is her happy place and she wants to be a Disney influencer. She has no charisma or any quality content. She spends weeks at a time there ignoring my siblings and I pleading for her to listen and for once put her own needs to the side for us. I've been getting calls and texts for months about the house being sold, which I just ignored because I assumed they were scams. But I called my dad today and he told me the truth. She won't listen to anything anyone says about trying to save money. She can't hold down a job. She only does things to make her happy, not her kids or her husband. My father has been suicidal for as long as I can remember. His life is miserable, no love from her. I just want to make him happy, but I can't, and I'm scared. He has nothing left to lose once my youngest sister graduates next year. I've dreamt of having that house for its location one day. I was talking to my sister a few months ago about how one day I want that land to develop. But that won't ever happen now. My mom spends tens of thousands of dollars she doesn't have. She won't accept a divorce. My father brought up bankruptcy so they won't be left on the street, but her concern was losing her Disney timeshare that she bought without his knowledge. He just works and is forced to care for her dog she leaves at home all day while she does God knows what. I don't think I can do anything as I'm only in my early 20s. Where the hell am I going to get $400,000? She won't talk to me about anything like that whenever I try to. She just goes silent while I try to reason with her, but nothing ever works. Stories number 29. Daughter was upset with me, so I told her the truth. Ada, during the last half term from school, a little kinda last-minute camping trip was on the cards. I contacted my ex-wife to tell her the days we'd be away for, and asked if I could take our daughter with us. My ex-wife said no. No idea why she said no. Our daughter is 9, and I see her and have her in my care a lot. I was quite surprised she said no tbh. I didn't want to argue, so I said okay. I'm not about to argue and fight with my ex-wife, I've had enough of that. The day before we were going on the camping trip, I had my daughter in my care for the day. The moment I picked her up something was off, so I asked her what was wrong, and she got upset about the camping trip, and didn't understand why. I didn't want to take her with me. I got irritated instantly, because it was clear my ex had told her about the little trip, but had also made out it was me who didn't want to take her. When that wasn't the truth. So I said to my daughter, well, that's a conversation you should have with your mum. I wanted to take you, your mum is the one who said no. Which is the truth. She was even more annoyed then, but throughout the day she cheered up and got over it, and we out for the day and had fun. I took my daughter home that night, and by the time I got home her mom had messaged me having the nerve to give me grief because our daughter was now pissed off at her. I told her, should have thought about that before you lied to her, but okay. I then ignored her after that. Was I at all the in that? My partner huffed and said, you've started something now. But WTF was I supposed to do? Let my daughter think I didn't want to take her on the trip? Let me daughter be annoyed me when I did nothing wrong? FCK no. Edit, seeing as people want to be weird in the comments, thought I'd add some extra information. Half term is out of school. She would not have been taken out of school. During half terms I can have my daughter for extra days if planned with my ex-wife, hence why I asked during the half term if I could take her camping with us. My ex-wife said no. I don't live in America. Don't assume your country's rules apply to where I live. We don't all live in America. The camping trip was not out of the country. It was in the same place, about an hour's drive away. Perfectly fine distance. When I have her in my care on weekends, I've often taken her places further away than where this camping location is, hence why I'm confused why my ex-wife said no to this simple request. Thanks for the logging comments, but I do that already when necessary. This isn't the first time my ex-wife has tried to play games. During school terms I have her pretty much half the week, I have her overnights. But during out-of-school days, half-terms and summer holidays, me and my ex-wife can come to terms on different days/extra days and whatnot. But if there is some kind of few-day trip or plan, especially on my side, my ex-wife likes to know and give her consent, which I respect, but she's playing games this time for some reason. I don't know why. Stories number 30. My coworker forgets her lunch at least twice a week and somehow always ends up with someone else's leftovers. We've all got our office quirks, but this one is honestly starting to feel like low-key fridge thievery in slow motion. There's a woman on my team, let's call her Dana, who forgets her lunch multiple times a week. Like clockwork. At around 12:30 she'll start wandering the kitchen, sighing loudly, opening the fridge with a dramatic, "Ugh, I forgot to bring my lunch again." Okay, fine. We all forget sometimes. But here's the thing, within 10 minutes, she somehow ends up with someone else's leftovers, every single time like magic. Oh, is this spaghetti anyone's? It's just sitting here with no name on it, don't want it to go to waste. Or, my personal favorite, someone left half a burrito in here since yesterday, I don't think they're coming back for it. It's always, no name, just sitting there, or, probably abandoned. Never mind the fact that half the office is now labeling their Tupperware like it's middle school lunchboxes. One guy literally sharped, "Do not eat, this means you Dana," on his container. She said it felt hostile. I'm not even mad at this point, I'm almost impressed. She's operating with the confidence of a raccoon in a gated community. Anyone else got a coworker who's turned lunchroom foraging into an art form? Stories number 31. My ex-friend's horrible GF is finally getting everything she deserved. So the reason why I personally hate that girl is because we were in a friend group of 5. Me, the ex-best friend, his GF, the only friend I still hang out with, and another D-riding girl who is also getting what she deserved. Long story short, I was a good friend to her, but she used me for money and my car, did some things to the ex-BSF that I clocked as manipulative and abusive and warned him about. She gave him an ultimatum and he chose her. She's been jobless, living with him and mooching off him for about 5 months now. Well, all of it's about to come to an end because the guy is finally sick of it. She flunked out her first year of college and he's been struggling to make ends meet. He expressed that to her and she said to his face, "I'm too lazy to get a job." Mind you, all she does is lay in bed all day unless he drags her somewhere. She can't go back to her mom's house because her mom's one requirement was that she stay in school. He wants to apologize to me, he's probably gonna move in with the friend that I still hang out with, and she's gonna be completely alone, homeless AMD without any help. I swear it's like I'm watching the fall of Rome. She had the perfect situation, but she's insecure and is burning everything to the ground. Her last-ditch effort is telling the BF she's fighting the urge every day to end her own life, so he'll be guilt-tripped into staying. He's not falling for it. I'm gonna decide whether I want my friend back, and she has literally nothing and I could not be happier. Stories number 32. Stepmother said I am asking her to risk her life to attend my wedding. Posting this to help my sanity. Me, 27F, and my fiancé, 30M, recently visited my biological father and stepmother for Father's Day. We live in the US and are all American citizens. To give some background, we are having a destination wedding in April of 2026 in Playa del Carmen, Mexico. Before this, a few weeks ago in fact, we sent them the save the dates and wedding website which we paid a reputable travel agent $1,400 to make. The website included all information about resort pricing, travel logistics, wedding venue information, everything we felt necessary for each guest to know. We have had 24 out of 70 of our guests submit their RSVPs and deposits without a hitch. The rest have reached out about random questions that we've answered promptly and politely. At this moment we've received 90% soft RSVPs, with deposits still outstanding. Fast forward to yesterday, we were all talking calmly and my brother cheerfully asked if they were getting ready for Playa del Carmen. My stepmother interjected with how horrible the crime is in Mexico, how Trump and the protests in the USA are crazy right now, and how taxis in Mexico were recently in trouble for overcharging tourists for rides to the airport, etc. I was confused because, as I am aware, we are all US citizens and there is no travel ban to or from Mexico at the moment. Additionally, I had not heard of any unusual crime happening in Playa del Carmen. Also, we have included the cost, as in, me and my fiancé are paying for it, of transportation for our guests using shuttle services for all transportation needs during trip. The venue is 10 minutes away from the all-inclusive resort, by the way. I didn't bother commenting on all the political protests, as I am not aware of any happening in Mexico. I am aware of those that are happening in the US, but those involve immigration which, while is important, not sure what it had to do with the wedding specifically. I shared in a professional tone all the information which was already available on the website, and my father snapped at me and said, "Don't you think this is something I need to know?" To which I said, "I'm sorry, I thought it was all covered, and as you never reached out to me for any questions I figured you were fully aware of the details." Then my stepmother bursted from her seat in anger and yelled at me that I was asking her to risk her life to attend the wedding, and how dare I have a tone, and then proceeded to say that she will keep pretending she's attending the wedding even though things are so dangerous right now. She also said I am crazy for asking her to spend thousands of dollars to attend. The price for airline tickets and a 3-night stay is around 1.4K for 2 people, a place which is so dangerous right now. I told her that while I would love to have her there, I didn't mean to cause her so much anger and confusion. And if there was anything I could do to answer more questions, I'd be more than willing. I'm just confused because none of my guests, wedding planner, or travel agent has ever notified me of unusual crime or travel bans or Mexicans targeting US tourists in Playa del Carmen. I was shocked to say the least. My fiancé said he didn't hear me have a tone, and we left shortly after. I followed up with my father about if he got a chance to check the website, and he said all the information he needed was there. I am still so shocked. They also kept asking me to have a plan B in case politically we can't have the wedding in Mexico. I don't really have a plan B as I don't have the money to secure 2 venues, one in Mexico and one in the US, for April of next year. If things fall through, I'll just have to pivot at that moment. So Reddit, am I really asking her to risk her life to attend a destination wedding in Mexico which I have been planning since November of last year? No other guests have reached out to me on their concerns, and while I understand the political climate, I never thought for a moment I'd be asking anyone to risk their lives. Edit, I understand the risks of having a destination wedding is that people won't attend. I am okay with this and will wholeheartedly accept their decision. This is why I didn't respond back in anger. I am not angry. Just shocked. My stepmother and father are world travelers and have visited Mexico many times, especially Playa del Carmen, as well as Europe, several times. This adds to my shock of it all. Edit number 2, my father and stepmother are by all accounts wealthy. I'm talking buying and fixing up sports cars for fun and traveling out of town to gamble for the weekends wealthy. I have not asked them for any help on the wedding or anything. I am also not having a wedding registry. I do not see them frequently through the years and have never lived full time with them through my childhood. For all intents and purposes they are mostly strangers. I love and respect them, and that's really the extent of the relationship. They have also stated before that they do not disclose what they do on a day-to-day basis to me as they are concerned I would grow jealous and envious of their lifestyle. Edit 3, yes, I asked them months ago about if it was okay with them to put a deposit on the wedding venue and provided location and dates. I received no comments, just a thumbs up. Thanks for your input and understanding. Stories number 33. She demanded a refund for her neighbor's package. So I was on shift at the call center when this lady calls in, already mad. Said her order never arrived and she wanted a full refund, plus a credit for the inconvenience. I looked up her info, nothing under her name, number, email, nothing at all. I asked if she maybe used a different email or had an order number. She said, no, it wasn't my package. It was my neighbor's. But I saw it get stolen off their porch and I think you should refund them. Through me. I said, I'm really sorry that happened, but we can only work with the actual account holder. She snapped back, well, they're elderly and don't use the internet. I'll handle it for them. I asked if they could contact us directly or give permission. She said, no, because they don't know I saw their package. I was watching through the blinds. I paused. Then she added, I was gonna ask if I could just keep the replacement when it gets sent, I'm helping and all. So to recap, she saw her neighbor's package get stolen, didn't tell them, called pretending to help, and then tried to keep the item. I told her we couldn't process anything without permission. She said I was heartless and hung up. Later that day, same name placed a new order for the exact item, using different email. Stories number 34. AIO for making my MIL leave after she tried to rename our newborn. I, 30F, just gave birth 2 weeks ago. My husband, 32M, and I picked the name Liana after my late grandmother. We were so happy with it. His mom came over a few days ago and kept referring to the baby as Victoria. I corrected her, thinking it was a slip. She said, well, I just don't like Liana, so I'll call her Victoria. It sounds more elegant. I said that wasn't okay. She laughed and said I was just hormonal. I asked her to leave. Now my husband says I overreacted and should have been more understanding since naming is emotional for her too. Emotional? It's not her kid. He's sulking now, and she's texting me passive-aggressively about how I'm too sensitive. Was I overreacting? Stories number 35. Bought a sandwich for an elderly homeless man who was in tears and talking about how hungry he was. He threw it in the trash as I was walking away. Today I saw an elderly homeless man asking for money. He was talking about how hungry he was and that he hadn't eaten in 3 days. He was even sobbing. Although I'm newly homeless myself and don't have much, I really felt bad for him and went into a nearby store to buy him a sandwich. I came back, greeted him with a smile and gave him the sandwich. As I was walking away, I saw him throw the sandwich aggressively in the trash without even opening it. It really stung, and coupled with my experiences from this past weekend made me realize why homeless people have such a bad reputation. My tent was cut up and destroyed by other homeless people and my bike vandalized/stripped as well to the point that it was useless and I had to throw it away. All this was unprovoked. I did nothing to them. In fact, I camp as far away from them because it's safer, but yet they did that. I know that not all homeless people are like that, but all this made me understand why a lot of people have an issue with them. Stories number 36. Husband, 40M, says I, 36F, can't expect him to stop lying because I don't give him a safe space to tell the truth. Together 2 years. TL, DR, basically the title. Husband says it's unreasonable for me to expect honesty from him because he's too scared of my reaction to tell the truth. My husband had a flirtation with a young girl at his job. It wasn't cheating, but it crossed lines for me and made me uncomfortable. I asked him to stop texting her or interacting with her outside of work. He agreed. Later, I found out he was texting her to ask her to pick up shifts when he was working. Again, this made me uncomfortable and I told him it felt like a betrayal of our agreement and asked him to stop. He agreed. Cut to now months later. I see again that he's texted her asking her to pick up a shift with him. I first asked him, "Did you ask to pick up this shift with you?" He said no. I said, "Are you lying?" He said no, got angry, and stormed out. I proved to him that I knew he was lying, and he has turned it around on me and said my rules were controlling and he shouldn't be expected to follow them. He's also said he can't and won't be expected to stop lying to me until I create a safe enough space for him to be able to tell the truth. He said this to me many times before when caught lying. That I don't create a safe space for him to be honest because he's scared I'll flip out. But I've never been given the chance to give him a safe space for honesty. He's yet to be honest. Do I flip out when I find out he's blatantly lying to my face about other women? Absolutely. Have I ever flipped out when he's come to me honestly about something that should upset me? Frankly, I haven't ever been given the chance to, but I've told him time and time again that if he gives me the opportunity, I'd 100% react much more reasonably to honesty than I do to lies. And if he's scared of my reaction to his behavior, why doesn't he just not do the things that he knows will upset me? If I were thinking to myself, I have to hide from husband or else he'll flip out, I'd just not do the thing because I don't want to do something that would upset him. Is that unreasonable to expect from a partner? Is that controlling? I feel like I genuinely might be crazy here. He's just so unapologetic and so adamant that I'm the controlling, crazy one with unrealistic expectations. I am admittedly more jealous than I should be, but his continued lies about his interactions with other women haven't helped that at all. Stories number 37. MIL's speech was a rule book for the bride from the 1910s. So a few years ago I went to a wedding with my then boyfriend of an old friend of his. I didn't know the bride and groom too well outside of other weddings we'd been to, but I liked them both very much. Even though I went to the same Catholic high school as the bride, I didn't know she was a practicing Catholic. Most of us who went to the school are now very firm atheists. I was surprised the wedding ceremony was super traditionally Catholic, but didn't think much of it, as I know many people want a traditional church wedding and just go along with all the vows and promises to raise your children Catholic, etc. The reception was really sweet and a lot of fun until it came to the speeches, specifically the MILs. It started off with her welcoming the bride to the family and how they shared so many values, but then took a very weird turn. She pulled out this tiny vintage book proclaiming it was her grandmother's and one of the only things she saved when fleeing her home in the midst of WW2. The rest of the speech was her reading from the book, which was essentially a rule book for wives on how to treat her husband, including always taking care of him like he was a child, putting out his clothes, catering to all his needs, etc., and such gems as, if he is stressed and takes it out on you, don't fight back or even bring it up because it will just increase his stress. She read this with zero hint of irony or humor for a full 20 minutes. All of us in our friend group sat there flabbergasted and unsure whether we should laugh or cry for our friend the bride. After she finished reading, she just said, "I hope this serves you well," and handed the book to the bride, who looked equally stunned. It was such an awkward silence. Even when the MIL raised her glass to the bride and groom, a lot of people were only quietly raising their glasses. The couple is still married and very happy, and probably not following the book. Stories number 38. My husband has been lying about working late. I, 29F, and my husband, 29M, have been together for 4 years, and everything is great. We work from home, but our setup ensures we're not in each other's space too much. I have a demanding job that requires long hours, and on top of that, I recently sold my previous company, took a short break, and started a new contracting gig. So, I'm working a lot right now. My husband's work schedule is much more balanced, around 37.5 hours a week, so he has a lot more free time. He's into video games, working on a book, and watching TV. I love that I can work hard to support him in having this freedom. Lately, though, I've noticed something odd. He's been telling me he's super busy with work, but when I pop into his office to say hi or take a quick break, he's usually playing video games or watching TV. This has happened several times over the last month, and it's making me wonder if he's being totally honest about his work. For context, I'm never mean about these things, I just apologize for interrupting and go on my way. Here are some possibilities I've considered. He just wants more alone time, he's an introvert, like me, and I'm guessing he might feel like he doesn't get enough space. But I already have a pretty demanding schedule, so he does have plenty of time to himself most nights around work anyway. He feels the need to seem busier, maybe he enjoys the positive reinforcement I give when he says he's working hard, and he wants to keep up that image. There's something else going on, maybe there's an underlying reason why he's not being fully honest about his work, but I'm not sure what it could be. I'm fully aware I'm overthinking this and want to have a conversation, but I'd like to have some idea of what's going on before I bring it up so I can be thoughtful and sensitive about the subject. What do you think could be going on here? Stories number 39. She let her dog poop on my lawn for weeks, now her grass looks like a hayfield. Okay, so I live in a quiet neighborhood where people mind their business and respect each other's space. Except for my one neighbor. Their dog has been using my front lawn as its personal toilet for weeks. I've seen it. I've stepped in it. I've watched them walk away like they didn't just leave a steaming pile of shit behind. No bag. No guilt. Just vibes. I tried to be patient. I gave them the benefit of the doubt. I even made direct eye contact with them once, hoping to God they'd get a clue. They didn't, of course. Dumb as a rock. So one night around 2:43 a.m., yeah, judge me if you want, cause I am that petty and that precise, I grabbed a bottle of some pretty strong weed killer I got from work and took a little stroll. Hood up. No lights. Just me and my vengeance. I sprayed only the patch of grass on their side of the sidewalk, the same little strip where their dog always does its business. Took my time, even made sure not to step on their driveway. Fast forward to the next morning, her grass. Dead AF. Crispy AF. Flat AF. Giving drought core LMAO, the rest of the block. Green as ever. LOL, even the mailman asked me what happened to their yard. Alls I did was just shrug and said, maybe her lawn got tired of being treated like crap. LMAO, they posted on Facebook all paranoid like, I don't know what we did to anyone. I don't care about the lawn, I'm just worried someone is mad at us, in our local city group. Oh, honey bun, someone is. Maybe next time you'll clean up after your dog, before karma sprays back. Stories number 40. Aita for not comforting a friend at my own birthday party, even though I didn't know what was going on. I, 17F, had a few friends over for a small birthday party. We're all 17. Everything started fine, I was dancing with my dad, having fun, and trying to enjoy my day. What I didn't know at the time was that a group of my friends had snuck off toward the front of the house, in the dark, far from where the party was happening, and stole alcohol from our outdoor fridge. They drank without my knowledge, and while that was happening, one of them, 17M, got drunk and broke up with his boyfriend over text. He got emotional and broke down, and the rest of my friends focused all their attention on comforting him, away from the party, and away from me. They didn't sing happy birthday, didn't talk to me for most of the night, and basically separated themselves from the event. I was left confused, but when they left, I still gave them cake, candy, and hugs, even though I felt kind of hurt. The next day, they ignored me and called me a fake friend for not comforting the one who was upset. But I had no idea what even happened until after the fact. I get that emotions were high, but I feel like it was my birthday and I didn't even know what was going on. Aita. Stories number 41. Aita for tell a mom another pool her child was in the way. We are on vacation. Our condo complex has a pool. My kids call it the fidget spinner pool, because that is what it looks like. 3 wide areas that connect with the big part of the pool. 2 of the wide areas are 3 feet and 1 is 6 feet. The center of the pool is 4 feet. Me, my daughter and 2 nieces 10, 11, 13, I will just say my kids for story, are at the pool. There is another family with 3 kids and 4 adults. We are in one 3-foot section and they are in the other. I'm tossing dive toys for my 3 kids, A girl 8 years old from the other family comes over and asks what the kids are playing with. They show her and ask if she wants to play. She says, "No, I can't go underwater." She then goes back to her family and gets in an inner tube. She slowly floats her way over to the section we are in and is now floating right in the middle, blocking my kids from being able to throw the dive toys and go get them. I say, "Can you move that way just a bit?" They want to throw their toys, and I don't want you to get hit with a toy. She just turns herself away from me, but doesn't move. My niece says, "Let's go to the deep section. It will make it harder anyway." They go over to the 6-foot section where no one is, and lo and behold, the little girl floats herself over there. I hear my niece ask again if she wants to play. Don't know if the girl responded, she doesn't move. So the kids throw the toys around her. They all then dive for them and of course are splashing as they dive down. Little girl gets splashed and loses her mind. I see mom start moving towards her asking what happened. So I start walking over there too. As my kids are popping back out of the water, she gets splashed again and screams they are splashing me on purpose. The mom looks at my kids and in a gruff tone asks, "Don't you three know it's not nice to splash people? Learn some manners," I then say. "My kids were playing over there when your little girl came over. They asked her to play and she said no but didn't move. So my kids came over here. She then flayouted herself over here where she was asked again to play. She again refused and JYST floated there. It's not their fault she was in the way of their game. She purposely came over here. Maybe she should learn some manners." Mom replies, "She's only 8, then tells her daughter, "Come on, some people are just rude. So are my kids and I the AHAKA rude ones." Stories number 42. AIO for asking my boyfriend to move out after I found his rate her list. I, 25F, let my boyfriend, 27M, move in with me temporarily after he lost his job. Things were going well until I used his laptop to print something and found a notepad file titled Girls Rankings. I opened it thinking it was a joke. Nope. It was a list of every girl he's dated or hooked up with, including me. Each name had a 1 to 10 ranking and notes like, best chest, funniest, wife material, crazy eyes, etc. Next to my name it said, cute but bossy, 7 out of 10. Probably temporary. I didn't confront him right away. I just packed his stuff and told him to go stay with his brother until we figured things out. He claims it was just a stupid list from before we were serious, and I'm overreacting by throwing away something real over an old joke. Stories number 43. Entitled MIL demands to babysit, then complains when we actually leave her with the baby. My MIL, 60s, has been begging us for weeks to trust her with the baby. My daughter is 4 months old, and we've been hesitant because MIL has a tendency to ignore instructions and make everything about herself. She finally wore us down and we let her babysit while we went out for dinner for our anniversary. We left a list of feeding times, bedtime routine, and emergency contacts. Halfway through dinner, we get a text from her saying, "So when are you picking her up?" She's been crying and I haven't had a moment to sit down. It had been 45 minutes. She then called and said, "I thought I'd get to cuddle her and take cute photos, not do all this." We rushed home to find her rocking the baby with the most dramatic look on her face. She said, "I think next time, you should hire someone. I'm not your free nanny." "Ma'am, you begged us to let you watch her. We gave you one evening. Safe to say, there will be no next time." Stories number 44. Enjoy bankruptcy. With all these karma bots posting the same damn stories, I've decided that you need another one of mine. After my latest MC in an IT department, I decided that I no longer wanted to work in IT. Instead, I got a job working with institutionalized young people, an open institution, so not the truly broken kids, because surely people who worked with messed up kids would be better listeners. After about a month there, I was absolutely certain that one of the kids had a wrong diagnosis, and the medication he was on was making everything worse for him. I brought this up at a meeting, and was instantly shot down because I had no formal relevant education. My position was as assistant, and never mind the fact that I have the actual diagnosis this kid was supposed to have, and they knew that. I got shut down hard, and the only other decent person there explained it to me later, as the same internal politics and power plays as everywhere else. Well fuck. 2 weeks later we had mandatory external oversight come by. This required us to go through all the kids, updates, treatment plans etc. and when this kid came up it was crickets all around. Bossman pulls up his file, and behold, there's no mention of my remarks from the meeting. Bossman words a request for more information poorly, which I can't directly translate from Danish, but it's more or less, if there's anything relevant that she should know, and I think the file being incomplete is relevant, so I tell him that. Death stares all around. External oversight lady asks, so I tell her. It happens to be her area of expertise. She orders the kid taken of his meds, and a week later he's much better, still a messed up kid, but at least not drugged up to his eyeballs. I get fired for not being loyal, since I was still in the trial period no reason was needed, but that's my guess. But as I'm packing up my shit, the kid comes running and hugs me. I don't know what ended up happening to him, but a few years later I found out the company running that place went bankrupt. Guess who didn't get a lot of kids assigned to them after missing the most obvious of fucking issues? Stories number 45. Aita for getting one of my nephews less special gifts than the others. I, 36M, have 3 nephews. Albert, 14, is my sister's son. Nathan, 14, and Sam, 12, are my brothers. A week ago, I went on a holiday in Europe. Asked the kids what they wanted. Albert wanted an official cap from his favorite football club, Nathan some chocolate not available in our country, and Sam a couple of museum guidebooks. I managed to get all the items. My brother was not pleased, though. He said it could upset Sam to see the others get more special gifts and I could have gotten him something extra not on the list. Update, so I talked to my brother again. He said he was upset about something else and took it out on me when I visited. We're good now. Stories number 46. My coworker schedules urgent Zoom meetings just to read emails out loud, the same emails we all got. I don't know who gave Todd this much power, but it needs to be revoked immediately. Every Tuesday at 9 a.m., he schedules a mandatory Zoom called Weekly Priorities. What happens in it? He opens his inbox, reads HR announcements, word for word, like we're in kindergarten story time. The man once screen shared a printer error message and asked, "Is this just me?" He said, "Let's circle back," 7 times in a single sentence last week. I counted. He ends every meeting with, "Great talk, team," after talking 98% of the time and asking 0 questions. I've started playing corporate bingo just to survive. Last week I won with bandwidth, low-hanging fruit, ping me offline, a cat walking across someone's keyboard, and the classic, "Sorry, you're on mute." I'm not even mad anymore. I just want to know what planet Todd lives on and if I can visit. Briefly, stories number 47. Roommate used my bank account to pay his portion of rent. I let this guy start living at my apartment, off the lease because I only wanted him around for a year. Well, first month into the second year of living with me, he is unable to pay rent. He had quit his stable job for a tech job through an agency. Once the season was over, he didn't have a job and in January, he accidentally used my bank details to pay for his share of rent. He told me he'd pay me tomorrow 3 days in a row, and when I confronted him about it, I told him he needed to man up and say what's going on in his life. Long story short, he stayed at my place since February without paying rent. In April, I had enough and started the eviction process. When he was served legal documents, he called the police, called our property manager to let them know that he had been staying here as an unauthorized tenant, and just overall trying to bring us down with him. Luckily, our landlord did some research and saw that we had already started the legal process, so she was on our side, and constantly told him that he wasn't allowed there, and that he needed to move out. The last time I saw him was the day before the court case. He didn't show up to the Zoom meeting, nor did he ever contact me again. What's funny is that there was an error with the service documents, but because he didn't show up, he assumed he lost. I heard recently that he was actually arrested for trespassing. Needless to say, I definitely learned a lesson on background checks. Edit. He got my bank account details because I trusted him enough to give him the username/password to the rent payment portal to pay directly, and my bank details were saved for future payments. It was a blind, naive decision. Stories number 48. Just got slut-shamed for wearing glasses. I posted a mirror selfie on Twitter today, my first mistake, I know. Got a comment from this guy saying I was sexualizing myself and calling me ran through and other worse things. I was confused and asked how I was sexualizing myself, but he just vaguely told me, "You know exactly what you're doing." I prodded some more and got him to tell me that I was trying to look sexy, because I was wearing glasses. I asked how in the world my selfie was sexy, and he said it was because of the porn glasses. I don't know what the fuck that means and I don't want to either, and my outfit. For reference, I was in a coffee shop reading books, and was wearing a sweater vest and plaid skirt that goes down to about mid-thigh, and of course, the oh-so-sexy spectacles. Apparently the outfit reminded this clown of a certain porn star he liked, and his little pea brain decided girl in glasses equals whore. The moral of the story is that porn has absolutely rotted men's brains. We are absolutely cooked, chat. Stories number 49. AIO for telling my fiancé's best friend I'm not his placeholder wife. My fiancé, 28M, and I, 27F, have been together 3 years, engaged for 6 months. His best friend, let's call him Jake, has always been a little too familiar with me. He jokes that I stole his bro, makes offhand comments about how I'm not who he pictured for my fiancé, and recently told me I have big starter wife energy. At a barbecue last weekend, Jake said, loud enough for others to hear, well, at least when fiancé upgrades in a few years, he'll know what not to do next time. I snapped and said, if he ever upgrades, it'll be by ditching dead weight like you. Now Jake is whining to my fiancé that I humiliated him and made everyone uncomfortable. My fiancé supports me but says maybe I shouldn't have escalated. AIO for finally snapping. Stories number 50. My 60F daughter's MIL 60F monopolizes all of her holidays/PTO. I recently moved into a new house. I would love to have my daughter come visit, but every time we try to plan something, she's already been booked up with her mother-in-law's plans. MIL is a very family-focused woman. She has plans for all the birthdays, holidays, and books up vacations for the whole family. This is fantastic, but it exhausts my daughter, and she's told me that she wishes she could spend some celebrations or holidays apart from her husband's side of the family. Unfortunately, all of this planning leaves my daughter with no vacation time, and her holidays are always booked. We share a joint Christmas with our family and the in-laws, but are never able to get my daughter and her husband alone. Of course, we are always invited to the MIL's events, but it just isn't feasible. We live 7 hours away from the MIL, my daughter lives 4 hours away from them, part of her exhaustion, and she knows this. I thought we could plan something for Thanksgiving, with just our side of the family, but my daughter said MIL has already hinted at being excited to have a joint Thanksgiving at our new house. We haven't made plans yet, or even invited anyone. MIL, while very nice and extremely generous in most situations, is known for being a bit of a short fuse. She's very possessive over her children, and has cut them off, then forgiven them over minor offenses before. I definitely don't want to put my daughter and her husband in a tough spot. I'm at a loss. Is there a way to plan this Thanksgiving with just our side of the family, without putting my daughter in her MIL's crosshairs? Is there something I could write to MIL expressing my feelings? I don't want to get between my daughters and her MIL, but I'm not sure what to do. TLDR, my daughter's MIL monopolizes all her time, and we want 1 or 2 holidays for our side of the family. Stories number 51. I straight up lied to children for years just to avoid an uncomfortable joke. I taught Latin chant for a few years at a posh Catholic middle school. My first semester there was rough as I was a fresh music teacher out of college and really didn't know how to handle 8th grade boys. One of the first chants the priest asked me to teach was Panis Angelicus, and I died internally because I knew those 8th grade boys were going to make penis jokes given how close Panis was to penis, and I had no idea how to handle it without blushing myself. I know, I'm a much more seasoned teacher now. So I lied and taught them via rote, repeat after me, not letting them see the words for weeks, pronouncing it without the S, so it was just Pani. And then when I finally handed out the music, I mentioned very casually offhand that some words in Latin don't pronounce the S at the end. Now are you ready? 1 2 3 sing. When we performed it, with the sheet music in front of them, another strategic choice, inevitably a couple kids accidentally added the S in, creating the illusion of correct pronunciation. 100% would do again.